Hi, my name is Steph. Welcome to my channel, Cursed or Crushing It, where I tell you if books are cursed or crushing it, rather than giving a star scale rating on a scale of like what, 1 to 5 usually? So yeah, anyway, hi. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. If you are returning from my first video, thank you so much for coming back. If you are new here, welcome. And check out my last video on God of the Woods. So today we are going to be talking about Silver Elite by my gal, Dani Francis. So Silver Elite, this is a Book of the Month Club book. So this is number 2 in our Book of the Month Club series. This book does not have vampires. It will not be going on the list. Sorry to tell you. However, this book is really cool. And there has been a lot of discourse around it. And I thought that I would give you my 2 cents on this book, as well as just kind of like perusing what the internet has had to say about this book. Silver Elite by Dani Francis is a pretty new book. It came out this year, starting with just the author herself, Dani Francis. This is widely believed to be a pen name. And like, you know, chill, go off. I feel like everyone has a pen name. So there's a lot of speculation, though, on who is behind this pen name, because a lot of people have theories that the woman behind the pen name could be like one of like 4 people. There could be more. This could be, you know, some person like normie, like you and I. Who knows? I could be Dani Francis. You'll never know. I'm not Dani Francis. But people think that Dani Francis is an author that is established in a different genre, a genre different from romantasy. This is a romantasy book. So they think that it's someone branching out. There have been speculation that I've seen that this is Veronica Roth or Lynette Nani. I'm not quite as familiar with her work. I did see speculation that this could be Elle Kennedy, which would be crazy. She is like my resident hockey romance gal. And this could also be Elise Silver. The publisher did actually confirm that this is a New York Times best-selling author. And they've confirmed that Dani Francis is in fact a real person going by a different name. But they haven't said like what other names this person might have written under, and they haven't named the individual. So whoever wrote this, they are choosing to stay themselves, their own name, out of the limelight. So I respect their right to privacy. I am not gonna like speculate anymore. It could be a lot of people, but I guess on further inspection, I am not a New York Times bestselling author, so it cannot be me. I have also seen some speculation that the entirety of Silver Elite itself, the book, was written by AI. Having read the book now like twice effectively, I do not agree with that. I think that there has definitely been more thought put into this book than AI is really capable of giving. It would have to be an extremely sophisticated AI bot, because most of the times, like at least AI that I read, the longer the text gets, the less sense it makes, especially in and of itself. And this book is 516 pages, somewhere thereabouts, somewhere very close to that. And this book makes sense within itself, for the most part. I know that there's a lot of controversy about this book, and I'm gonna be straight up with you that I really don't care about that. I really care about the book itself. So with that being said, let's get into a little bit of a reaction for this book. I do plan to do a deep dive, just putting that out there. This will probably be a pretty long video. So let's all get a snack or a fun drink. But don't forget to get something to eat. Or grab a meal if you're hungry for a meal, and I don't know, set up your treadmill if you want to go for a little walk, or put this on in the background if you want to listen to something while you're like cleaning or working or something, because we have a lot to unpack here. This is gonna be excellent. I'm actually really excited for this one. I have my own fun little drink, so yeah, let's get this going. Let's start with the back of the book, because the back of the book does not give us much. My name is Ren Darlington. I've been hiding who I am my entire life. Today will be no different. There are no pictures. Sorry to tell you. Book of the month, May 2025. Was that a helpful back of the book description? I would say probably not. But is it enticing? I would say absolutely. You're hiding who you are. You've been hiding who you are your entire life, girl. Tell me more. Tell me more. I will tell you more. Never fear. Let's go. So, this world of Silver Elite, where we live, where Ren Darlington lives, our gal. Ren Darlington is our gal for this book, rest assured. In this world, people come in 2 different flavors. You can be a normie, also called a prime, or you can be a baddie, like actually bad. And those are called mods. Or aberrants, or like a whole host of other, probably like slurs for this world. But yeah. The normies, the primes, are normal. Go figure. They are in charge. And the most important thing to know about the primes or the normies is that they want to kill/enslave all primes. They think the primes are absolutely terrible. The primes are magical. When they use their magic, their veins in their arms turn silver. And so these people can be pretty easily spotted, especially when it's dark out. It seems like this silver is described to be glowing, like kind of like a bioluminescence of sorts. That's how I really read it. So especially in the dark, if they are using their magic, they're kind of like SOL. You know what I mean? Really the only sort of instances where they're able to camouflage when they're using their magic, when the silver in their veins in their arms is able to be passed off as like glare from the sun. Ideally, when someone is trying to covertly use their magic in this world too, they'll just wear like long sleeves, like so. It's important to note that there are different kinds of primes. And there are like a whole host of different gifts that primes can have. They typically have like mentalist powers, like, and so with the different kinds of primes, you can have multiple gifts. So I think there's like 6 or 7 different kinds of gifts. And if you have more than like a critical number of gifts, you are marked. You essentially get like a birthmark from whatever turned you into the silver-blooded person, modified person. You get a blood mark on your body, and it functions the exact same as a birthmark. It's just red. And that's it. And so the war that's currently happening in this world, and the goal of it is for the normies, the primes, to wipe out all of our baddies, our mods, our modified people. But the important thing to know, like our jumping off point for the story is that really not all of the normies are okay with what the company, the government in this case, they call themselves the company, capital C. The normies are not okay with what the company is doing to wipe out all of these modified people. Because the way that like becoming a prime works is it only manifests like later in childhood. So usually like between 8 and 10 years old or something like that. Just a little bit like you already have like the whole kid and they're like walking, talking, doing all of that kind of stuff. And then they manifest these modified characteristics. So these powers that the modified people have. It comes along a little bit later in childhood. And it also does not like inherit vertically. So if you have a prime mother and a modified father, like they won't necessarily have a 50-50 chance of having a modified child or a prime child. Like it'll be totally up to chance. And by extension of that same logic, 2 prime or normie parents can give birth to a modified child. And the other way around. 2 modified parents can give birth to a normie child. So it kind of works both ways. So there's a lot of like feelings, I would say, on both sides, both the prime side and the modified side. And so this is kind of giving us our undercurrent of unrest with this war and with the idea that there is a very real part of the society that is not okay with the war that is happening against all of the mods. So this is just kind of setting the scene, right? Moving on to who is in our story. Obviously, Ren Darlington is in our story. She's right here on the back of the book. She's our gal, like I said. Ren is a mod. However, she is a super special mod because her veins do not turn silver when she uses magic, which means she can use magic undercover in a tank top. She can do magic in the summer at night, and no one would know the difference. Unless she's, like, being weird.
What do you mean by that?
And Ren, like, literally immediately when she gets on the scene, she turns out to be, like, the horniest person I think that I've read in, like, a while. And I read Fourth Wing, so I feel like that's saying a lot. But, like, Ren is just, like, hot for everyone that comes across her that's, like, mildly attractive. And so we, like, literally start off the book with Ren being like, hey. And she is, you know, being herself. She's in bed with a soldier. And she immediately goes from that bed to make this incredible shot that kind of alerts the company to, like, wait, who is this person exactly making these, like, it can only be described as, like, a trick shot. She, like, rolls out of bed, goes and, like, does this shot, and that kicks off this entire story. I'll get into that in a minute, but we're still in non-spoiler zone. So she makes this really trick shot, and then everything just unravels from there. If you want to have a picture in your head of who Ren is, basically, if you picture Katniss Everdeen, that's your gal. That is our gal. And yeah, I mean, that kind of sums her up. Ren is incredibly cool. She's fast. She has a lot of cool training. And that's it. Another notable thing about Ren is that she has been raised since she was a small child by her Uncle Jim. And that is literally, like, his name is Jim Darlington, which is amazing because this guy is so incredibly, like, crusty and, like, resentful of, like, everyone. But he's Uncle Jim, you know? You gotta love the uncle. Spoiler alert, though. This is not actually a spoiler, but, you know, to absolutely no one's surprise going into this book, Uncle Jim is not actually her uncle. Oh no. They are both deep undercover, and that is his cover, that he is her Uncle Jim. And to the surprise of no one, Uncle Jim is also a mod. One of the types of mod powers that you can have in this universe is telepathy. And we see this on display right at the beginning of the book, where Ren is talking to Uncle Jim. She's also talking to her friend Tana. And they're all talking with telepathy. And the way that the telepathy is described in this book, I think is really interesting. It's kind of like having an AIM status or like an AIM friend where, like, you have to make that, like, initial link together. But then after that, you can just, like, IM them whenever or, like, talk to them whenever, and you don't have to, like, request a friendship again. That is literally what's happening here. So, like, when people want to talk with each other telepathically, it's called linking. And so what they do is, like, their brain sends a message to their friend's brain, and they're like, hey, you want to chat? It's like sending a text, but it's your brain. And their friend can either accept the bond or, like, not accept the bond. And then, like, if they do, they can talk for a second. It's kind of like a phone call, I guess, more so than, like, a text. But, like, yeah, you can basically, like, call your friend, and then they can accept the call, and you can talk to each other for, like, however long you want to telepathically. Or, you know, you don't, and they can't leave a message, actually. That is, like, a big downfall of this telepathy. There were several times in the book where I was like, wow, if only they could, like, leave a message. This would really help. But so, at the very beginning of our book, like, I'm literally talking, like, in the first chapter here. Ren is telepathically talking to Uncle Jim. She's talking to her friend Tana, and her friend Tana, notably, is a daughter to a pair of normies or primes who run the inn in the town that she lives in. The town is called Hamlet. And her friend, she's telling her friend telepathically, like, hey girl, I don't want to be around this hookup because her hookup is like following her around. She's trying to get away from him. And Tana's like, okay, yeah, no, I'll try and help you out. And like literally nothing these girls are doing is working because her hookup is just like, oh, I can walk you back there. Oh, I'd love to go there. Oh, yeah. And, like, so Ren lives at a ranch, right? And like her half of her personality is literally, I love ranching. I'm a horse girl through and through. And like Tana is trying to like help her out here and it's just like not failing. And like this guy's basically like, oh, you live on a ranch? That doesn't bother me. I love horses. Oh, a motorcycle? Oh, I love motorcycles. Oh, your uncle's not friendly? Everyone likes me. Like he's coming up for every reason why he should be able to go to her house with her. And she's like, bro, get off my back. I don't want to like see you again. Truth be told. And this poor man's is just like not picking up on that. Yeah, she's the daughter to a pair of normies who run the inn in Hamlet where Ren lives. And like Tana just kind of pops up every now and then. She's a good friend. I wish I could say the same of Ren though. Ren's not the greatest friend one could have. And that is kind of it for like how this book starts out. I feel like really to give too much away after that would be kind of giving away a little bit too much of the book. So after this trick shot that Ren makes, her hookup witnesses it, her friend Tana witnesses it, basically like this whole town witnesses this like trick shot that she makes. And then the company who is the government in this case, they're like, whoa girl, how did you make that shot? That's incredible. Like we need to see some more of this. They come to her branch. And that's like bad news bears for Uncle Jim because Uncle Jim is part of the people that were against the war effort. He's not like actively doing anything against the war effort, but he did enough in the past to be like super wanted by the company, like unequivocally wanted. And so this whole like plan that they have set up, this whole like house of cards that's been set up and that they've been living in for like this past however long, it all comes crashing down in an instant because of this trick shot. So the next day, after Ren has made this trick shot in the evening, the next morning, all of these soldiers are coming to her town, Hamlet, in Ward Z, to basically say like, hey, can you do that shot again for us? We want to see. Also, like, who are you? Like, we are now officially, like, suspicious of you. They arrive at the ranch while Ren is out doing some chores. And Uncle Jim is, like, fending them off. He's like, no, you're not going to get to see her. And unfortunately for Uncle Jim, some of the people that he was not great to during the war, when he was, like, active in the war against that the mods are raging on the primes to like combat what the primes are doing to them, which is killing all of them and enslaving them. Uncle Jim is like, no, you can't see her. Like, get off my back. And he tells her telepathically, he's like, hey, don't come back here. They are taking me and this is not safe for you. And so Ren, out on their huge ass ranch, she's like up on a hill. She sees that these people are taking Jim away and she's like, oh no, Jim, my uncle, my father. She sees them taking him away, but she also sees that one of the soldiers has stayed there waiting for her. And so she's like, okay, well, I can't go back. So she escapes. The counter effort, so the mods, they're a faction called the Uprising. So the Uprising is at war with the company. Capital U, capital C. The Uprising tells Ren, they're like, hey, you have like this flag on your ID and like her government issued ID number, which they all use as like their identification. It's kind of like a social security number, but you need it for everyday use. It's functions a little bit differently. She is like bugging, right? She's like, oh no, my ID, it's been flagged. I can't go anywhere because in this society you have to like scan yourself in everywhere and your ID is like attached to your thumbprint and your eye print and like all of that kind of stuff. So they like clear her ID for a matter of hours. And so she is able to basically follow Jim to the city that they take him to. And that's really where like the rest of the book just like kicks off and our adventure really begins. She follows Jim to the capital and adventures ensue. So I'm gonna leave like the non-spoiler stuff there because like I said, that's really where the adventure kicks off. I am gonna tell you right now, I would rate this book as absolutely cursed. in like an endearing way. So I'm gonna add this disclaimer right here. If you really liked this book, I do not think any less of you. I would never think any less of someone for really enjoying this book. I enjoyed this book immensely. I thought this book was also immensely cursed. I had a lot of thoughts about it, but I thought it was extremely enjoyable. And so I would like to make the point just very clear that like a book being objectively good and a book being enjoyable to me are two completely separate things. I think that something can be terrible, low, and I can find it extremely enjoyable, high on that scale. And vice versa, I can find a book to be really well written and also be supremely unenjoyable. So this is like by no means an attack on anyone in particular. If you like romantasy books, you're in good company. I also really like romantasy books. I'm not going after this book because it seems like the cool thing to do. I'm not going after it because of the speculation on who the actual author might be and the AI allegations. I would not even say that I'm going after this book. I am definitely going to like roast it unequivocally here in a couple minutes as I go through the entire plot with you. But rest assured, I found this book extremely enjoyable, and I think that a lot of people would as well. So keep that in mind. Like, I'm not thinking less of anyone for liking this, and I enjoyed it. I'm just going to put that, I guess I should just leave it at that. I really enjoyed this book, and I think everyone can. I think it's fair game to enjoy, but like I said, enjoyment and actually being good are two separate things. Was this objectively good? No. Was it extremely enjoyable? Yes, and I liked it a lot. So, it was cursed, but I liked it. So, you might have been wondering why I was only showing you the dust jacket. I had quite a few thoughts on this book.
Oh my God! What is that?
The color of these tabs means absolutely nothing. This means that I started with these post-it notes and then I ran out of these post-it notes. And then I switched to these sweet cat post-its that my mom gave me like a year ago. So shout out to my mom. Thanks for the cat post-its. I used almost all of them, marking up the rest of this book. But so I figured we would just go through this together. It might take a minute. I figured we would just go through this 500-page book together, and I would give you a thorough recount of my thoughts on this book. So let's get into it, okay? Literally, like, starting with the dedication for this book, it says, "To the women who kick ass in this world. Oh, this is for every battle you've fought and every barrier you've shattered. You inspire me every day." To which I say, as someone who has read this book at this point, Ren basically has no barriers. So I'm just gonna leave that right there. So let's see. We start out, like I said, with Ren hooking up with this soldier whose name she can't even remember, mind you. Like, Ren is just so down bad that she's like, who needs a name? I don't. She's like with this guy. She's like, he's okay, but he's not that great. And she's like, I just really want to get out of here. I can't believe that I am messing around with a soldier right now. Which, like, girl, come on. You're like the horniest person alive if you're just like so down bad that you can't notice that this guy is literally in his soldier's uniform while you're flirting with him. I'm sorry, that's on you. And yeah, she's trying to escape her one night stand. And while she's doing that, she is like constantly thinking about her ranch. And she's just being like, wow, I really want to get back to my ranch. I love my ranch so much. Do you know what I love doing? Ranching. Do you know what I love? Horses. I love ranch. Like, that is like Literally, like, her whole personal personality, like the one that she like keeps to herself, is like not the whole thing, but definitely like a very solid, a very respectable, like 75% of it is her just being like, I love ranch. I love horses. I love cattle. I love ranching. So, as she's trying to escape this soldier that she just hooked up with, who, again, she does not remember this man's name, he's like, hey, baby, what's your ID? Which in this world is essentially the equivalent of like, hey, girl, can I get your number? So everyone has a government ID number and they use this number for literally everything. Like I said, it's tied to their thumbprint, it's tied to like an iris scan, I'm assuming, if that exists in this world. It's tied to like their whole being, like biologically, but then it's also tied to like these little like government issued cell phone kind of deals that they have where like you use your government ID to contact other people. So like you have they literally call it a COMM that they all carry around. And so if you have someone's government ID, you can contact them via their comm. And so as she's trying to escape this poor man, he's like, "Hey girl, can I get your phone number? Can I get your government ID?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, here you go." And he like messages her and he's like, "That's me." So like, nice of her to play along. She'll probably lose his number though, right? Because she doesn't even know this man's name, lest we forget. And yeah, so this is kind of like a cell phone parallel that she's now given him and that he's asking for. So after this whole like, kind of awkward exchange, she's like in her head trying to figure out, how am I going to get away from this dude? In walks Tana. Tana is our most convenient character. She's our most convenient friend. And oh my god, justice for Tana. I'm just going to say that right now. But so Tana is seemingly Ren's only friend at this point in the book. Her main point in this particular part of the story is to get this soldier off of her back. She's also integral to us learning his name because she asks for it and he says it. His name is Jordan. We don't need to remember that. And so Tana is helping out Ren Darlington with getting... Oh my god, even I just forgot his name. Jason. She's helping get him away from her. And this is where we're introduced to the concept of telepathy. So telepathy is one of the different types of gifts that you can have as a mod. Telepathy is when you can like link someone, and like I said, it's kind of like AIM where you add them as a friend and then they're able to just like send link requests with you. I guess it's more like exchanging phone numbers, but like mentally. And so Tana helps her get away from him. And as she's like doing this, we're introduced, they have like this conversation between the three of them. They're kind of like standing out in the square of their city called Hamlet in Ward Z. And we're led to believe that like all of the wards in this world are labeled A to Z. So presumably there are 26 of them. And at this point in the book, as we're walking along the square, we are introduced to the swears of this world. I don't know if I can actually say this on YouTube, but the swears, one of like the worst. This is like the swears in this book. Oh my god, they're like egregious. Literally, one of the most common ones is hellfuck. Just one word. Okay, that's like I'm sorry, that's like the stupidest swear ever. That's like you were trying too hard. That's like you were saying like, oh, I'm really gonna make this raunchy. Hellfuck. I don't like it. But, so, right after we're introduced to possibly one of the worst swears I've ever heard, the big bad event that, like, kind of kicks off this whole book happens. A white coyote enters the town, and he, like, takes a child. This child is named Robbie. We do not need to remember Robbie at all, but his name is right here. This white coyote takes Robbie... And he's like holding on to him and he's like gonna take him away. Presumably he's gonna go eat him, just coyote things. And he's taking him away. Everyone's like freaking out. And Ren's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I need to save this kid. And Ren, I forgot to mention, she has a gun. She is allowed to have a gun in this world. And therefore she has one. And she is currently equipped with the gun that she has. And so she like whips it off her back. Because that's where they're describing it. It's on her back. She like whips it off her back, and in a second she lines up this super improbable shot that not only is very far away but is in motion, with this coyote holding this child in his jaws, and she is able to shoot this coyote right in the head without harming the child at all. No one else around her, which keep in mind, everyone else around her is a normie except for Tana. None of them were comfortable trying to make a shot because they were like, we can't line this up with ensuring the safety of the child who is currently in danger. So when Ren makes this shot, it's like, oh no, this is not good. And she saves the child. So she's happy about that. And like, I don't think anyone's gonna like fault her for that. But she saves the child. And then she's like, oh no, what did I just do? That was like really bad. I just made the most improbable shot. So it turns out that Ren's shot is so incredibly impressive that the officers that were present when she in the square on a major holiday, might I add, in the town square where she lives, there were officers there, go figure, that were celebrating this very important like government holiday. She's so good that the officers there take notice and they start asking her questions. They're like, whoa, where'd you learn to shoot like that? And she's like, I just like shooting. I like, you know me, I'm Ren. I like the ranch. On the ranch we shoot. That's all I do. I'm just Ranchy Ren, shooting them up. I'm just a sharp shooter. What can I say? I'm just gifted. And they're like, huh, that's convenient. That probably isn't true. And she's like, wow, this is not good. And then at that point, Jim is like, hey girl, you need to come home. It's getting late. And so then we have this cute little flashback where we learn something very important about Ren and about modified children specifically and like in general. So modified children, when they're first developing their gifts, again in that like 8 to 10, maybe 12-ish range, they are able to spontaneously link normally with other children. The way they describe it here, it doesn't sound like you can just link with like a random adult. It sounds like it's other kids that you can link with because their minds are also similarly malleable and looking for that kind of stimulus, I guess, in their magic. And so this happened to Ren because this is common for children. And we find out this evening, like as she's going home, as she's like kind of getting more into her thoughts, she connects with this character that's called Wolf. And Wolf is this mystery boy that lives in Ren's head, basically, because he spontaneously linked with her when they were both children. And they occasionally talk to each other now. They use code names, so I'm sure you can imagine. Wolf is not his real name, I assure you. She just calls him Wolf because that is the alias that he's chosen, as they've chosen to continue having this like telepathic relationship with one another. And so Wolf links with her as she's like going through it that night after she's shot this wolf and saved this child and answered these questions and realized like, oh no, I just did something really bad. I called a lot of attention to myself in a way that marks me as a modified to these primes. And she's just like nonchalant with Wolf. She's like, yeah, I'm cool. I just broke some hearts tonight. It's no big deal. You know, Jason, that soldier guy. Yeah, you don't have to. But so during this conversation, we find out that Wolf calls her Daisy. I kind of hate that name. I'm not going to lie. Like Daisy itself as a name for like a person, as like a proper name for them is fine. But I just like really don't like that her like nickname in here is Daisy with Wolf. Like Wolf and Daisy, I don't know. They just are like really cringy nicknames to have, I think. If you ask me, I would not choose them. And so yeah, as they're talking, we have like a little bit of a history lesson dropped. So at one point in history, well, not at one point, 25 years ago, the Silver Blood Purge happened. And so the Silver Blood Purge, the point of that was for the Primes to try and rid the world of all of the modified people. And obviously that didn't work because the story is happening right now. And so in response to that, the mods are in what's called an uprising. So that capital U uprising. This uprising is resisting the efforts that all of the primes are doing to kill the modifieds, and they're also in the business of hiding other modified people. And so at this point in the book, after we meet like really prickly and not at all sweet Ren and really prickly and awful Jim, we learn that their last name is Darlington, which is like really funny because that was a name that really doesn't speak to their personalities at all, like in any way. So she's talking to Jim, and then we get another info drop that one of the mod abilities that one can have is inciting. And inciting is when you force another to do your bidding. And we find out in this moment that Ren can incite. So she can make other people do whatever she wants. But the way that they approach it in this conversation, she can only accidentally incite people. She doesn't actually have control over it, and it is extremely hard for her to do. And so after this, she's now at home. She's going to bed for the night, and she's just kind of thinking to herself, like, I really hope nothing happens because of this improbable and absolutely insane shot that I just took on this wolf to save this child. And Jim is like, yeah, I really hope so too, because that would really suck. We've been undercover here for like ever, and you could ruin this in like 1 minute. And so the next morning we wake up and we have a Ren loves ranching scene. She loves ranching so much that she is taking her horse out to go fix fences. And while she's out there fixing fences, the command comes and they request to Jim that they see Ren shoot. And unfortunately for Jim, the wrong person came to watch her and make this request of her, because the person that has come was involved in the war when Jim was active in the war with the uprising. And so this man recognizes Jim and he's like, oh, hey, I recognize you. Your name isn't Jim. Your name is Julian. Julian Ash. Julian Ash is a known rebel. And so because this other officer from the command is able to like spot that super easily because he was like fighting literally this man face to face, I'm assuming, Jim is taken into custody and he is found out. And they're like, what? Like Ren is like, whoa, how did this happen? Like, this is crazy. My friend Tana, God, I'm never going to get that right, am I? My friend Tana is a projector, and she always tells us when the guards are coming so that we can hide if we need to. Why wasn't she doing her freaking job? Maybe because Tana isn't your employee. But this is our cute little segue, right? Julian getting arrested and taken away. This is where we learn of the modified ability of projectors. So projectors are able to literally project what they're seeing. So if I was projecting to you right now, I would be projecting you my script, my book, this, and my phone that I'm recording on. So yeah, what mods can do is they can project whatever they're seeing. And so generally they're set up when guards are coming into town. Tana will project their faces to Ren and to Julian. And if Julian recognizes any of them or like has like a shadow of a recognition of them, they will like hunker down and they will just disappear for as long as it takes for those soldiers to leave. And so since that didn't happen, Jim is now gone. So whoops-a-doodles. The next thing that we get in this book that would like kind of stood out to me was a little bit of like world building here. And it's kind of interesting world building because it's kind of hard to pin when exactly this takes place. It seems like it's more of a futuristic book because of the technology that's described in it. But it's kind of hard to pin down because on some level it seems like it's futuristic. Like they have, these sophisticated phones and they also have like surveillance drones and stuff. So this to me reads as kind of like a futuristic society. And the way that this comes up all throughout Hamlet, they are now looking for Ren because they know that she's no longer at the ranch because like she never showed up to the soldier that was there. She never came home from, loving ranching and doing chores and loving ranching. So she is like trying to escape out through town and she notices a surveillance drone and she knows, okay, this surveillance drone is looking for me. So like I need to really maintain a low profile. So she's going for it. And so she finds out through her friend Tana's dad, his name is Griff, He works for the Uprising because he has a modified daughter. But so she finds out from Griff, Tana's dad, that they are taking Jim, her uncle, to the city. And that's like a cue for like a big oh no. She also finds out that there's like a flag on her ID. So if she tries to go anywhere, like if she tries to go to a train station and like use money in her account or like a pass or something. So in this world, in order to move around, you have to have like leisure passes or travel passes. If she tries to like scan and use something like that, her ID is flagged and she'll be stopped and monitored and all that basically. So like she really like is at the mercy of the government right now because they're literally everywhere. But so the Uprising is able to hack into all of this kind of stuff and they clear her ID for long enough for her to make it. And they also give her a leisure pass. But so between the leisure pass and clearing her ID, they give her the ability to get to the capital to go see Jim. At this point, she has an extremely convenient flashback. Buckle up for the convenient flashbacks because they're going to come a lot and often. But so at this point, we get a really convenient flashback to talking about shields and what shield training looks like for mods. So we learn from this that there is like a shock that mods will get when their mind is infiltrated by another mod. There is also a way to like shield your mind. So if you've read like other books with like magic systems, especially with like mind magic, the shields function exactly the same. The user is literally like imagining like, oh, I'm going to build up a wall made of steel, or I'm going to build up something made, brick by brick of onyx stone. No one can get inside. Like they make shields like this. In this world, they're all metal because this is a futuristic society and they know what metal is like. So she has like this very convenient flashback to what it means to shield and what it means to shield as a mod and how important that is. We also learn about like the two frequencies, and so the two frequencies are like the two frequencies of your brain. So it's like your present thoughts and your subconscious thoughts. So through this montage of her learning about how to shield with Jim, her uncle. With this like shielding lesson that we get a little convenient flashback to, we also find out that she is like spooky good at everything to do with her powers. And that's like a huge thing. It's kind of off-putting to the other mods, which is like kind of sad for her. She's just, she's just out here being great. Why are they coming for her? They're not, but she's just out here being great. Like, come on, everyone, just be cool. And yeah, it's like weird between her and Jim, but he's like, okay, this is great that you know how to do this. So yeah, we just have like this convenient flashback that tells us not only does she know how to shield, and she knows how to shield as a mod specifically, which is like its own skill, but that she is like scary good at like all of the mind powers. And then we're off from there. So we're off on our adventure. We're headed to the big city. And so once Ren reaches the big city, she has a couple of contacts with the Uprising because they're helping her out, because she's like, I need your help. And they're like, oh my God, if you're going to force our hand, fine, whatever. Like the Uprising is annoying and super reluctant to help her, like literally at any point. And all this girl wants to do besides ranching is help the Uprising. So when Ren reaches the city, we've had this flashback that tells her that she is like a super duper gifted mod. From there, we're introduced to this person who is described as like the most evil person ever. Unfortunately for her. Her name is Jade Valence. The name of evil. Oh my God. Like, boo. Boo, Jade.
Boo! You stink!
Literally, my note says in all caps, evil traitor. Jade Valence, for your information, is regarded as the most powerful mind reader like ever. And importantly, Jade, so she's a mind reader, right? You know what that means she is? A mod. Do you know who she works for? The Primes. So Jade is a loyalist to the Primes, and that is what makes her an evil traitor to the mods and in Ren's eyes. What makes her super duper threatening is the fact that she is like the most powerful mind reader ever. That is like literally her claim to fame. So she finds out that Jade Valence is the newest member of what's called the Tribunal. So the Tribunal is this group of people, and they are the ones who decide on punishments for people in this society. I don't know if it's just for, I can't remember if it's just for like mods that have been caught or if it's like for anyone that's involved in anything to do with mods. And I think that's, I mean, honestly, my impression is that this society really doesn't care about anyone except for mods existing. So they probably do just cover that kind of stuff. But Jade Valence is the newest member of the tribunal. So she's involved in sentencing mods for their crime of existing. And that's where we get this like whole introduction of like boom, 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 John Cena, except it's Jade Valence. And through us learning that Jade is on the tribunal and through Ren's contacts with the uprising, we learn that Jim is going to be executed on the morrow or tomorrow, and we're big sad. We are big sad about it. And so Ren is like freaking out. She's like, oh no, my uncle. And she's like wilding out. She goes to the safe house that the uprising has for her in the city, and she waits until morning, basically. And while she's waiting for morning, we have, again, a very convenient flashback that helps establish a little bit of her relationship with Jimbo. We have this flashback to where her and Jim are figuring out their names. So as we know, Jim's name is not Jim. It's Julian Ash. But what we're about to find out, and what we are finding out right now via this conversation, is that Ren's name is not Ren. When Jim first had her, he called her Girl, capital G, which, like, fair enough. She is a girl. But she kept telling him, like, hey, that's not my name. That's not my name. You know, like that song, call me Stacy. You call me her. That's not my name. That's not my name. But he's calling her Girl. She's like, that's not my name. But she really liked the birds, Girl did. And when she was looking at the birds, she was like, hey, what's this one called? And Jim, he was like, oh, that's a wren. We can call you Wren if you like the pretty birds. And that's just what kind of stuck. And in that same conversation, he is like, you're going to call me Jim. She's like, what? Okay. Like, who are you to me? And he's like, I'm your uncle. I'm uncle and you're Ren. And like that's like super cute, right? Like, so I don't know. I feel like those kinds of flashbacks, they are extremely convenient for like getting us and like moving the plot along in like no uncertain terms. However, like it is kind of cool to see these snapshots, and we do have like a lore moment of the fact that Ren's name is not actually Ren. And that Jim, you know, he's like really caring for her and like looking out for her from like the very beginning. Like he's putting a lot of forethought into this, which obviously this isn't his first rodeo. This is probably like what, his fourth by now, where he's like first got her. So it's a cute moment for a surly character. I will give it that. But so the next piece of info that we get about this world is that they are bloodthirsty. So like what's happening right now is it's the next day. Ren has reported to like this public square for the execution. The executions in this world are done publicly. Isn't that so cute? They're also done via firing squad. Isn't that so cute? Ugh. But so she attends his execution. She goes into the square where it's going to be held. It's full of people, and it's in like a government space, right? So like that's kind of crazy. She is like desperately talking to him, and she is literally freaking out. This woman is full of emotions. The firing squad gets there. There's 8 of them. Freaking crazy. I don't know. That feels like a lot of people. I feel like usually they have less, but not that much less. But so they like bring him out and all this fanfare. She's absolutely gutted. And then because Ren is in like this super heightened state of emotion right now, that is the kind of thing that literally triggers her inciting. And so Ren just starts inciting literally all 8 of the people in this firing squad. She starts inciting them. She is telling them in their mind, she's like, you're going to lower your weapon. You're going to point it at yourself. You're going to pull the trigger like on yourself, which like, that's too far, my gal. But I guess desperate times call for desperate measures, right? It's one or the other. But so she is telling them to do this. She's inciting 8 people at once, which is written as an extremely difficult thing to do. And she's already said like her telepathic goodbyes to Jim. And yeah, she's inciting these people actively in this square. Everyone is freaking out that's there now attending. The firing squad too, they're all like, what am I doing right now? Like, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. They ultimately are able to best her. She loses her control and Jim is killed. And immediately after this happens, when she fails to incite them to unalive themselves rather than unaliving Jim, they go through with unaliving Jim as a team. Then word starts spreading throughout the square, and all the spectators that were there, they're like, oh no, there's an inciter here. This is not good. And so in this world, inciters are not trusted at all, not by anyone. They're mods, so like by default, the primes don't trust them. But even more so, the other mods don't trust insider mods because they're like, you're going to make me do something I don't want to do. Like, you're a terrible person. When we at least have one piece of evidence here from our gal, our darling Ren Darlington, we at least have one piece of evidence that there is one insider in this world that does not take any joy in doing that. So, haters of insiders, beware. I'm here to stand by Ren. She doesn't want to do it. Don't make her do it. But so we also learn at the same time where everyone hates insiders. Sorry, Ren. We also learn that inciting is punishable by death without trial. Like, the tribunal won't even hear your case. They'll just be like, oh yeah, that's an insider. They're dead now. And the tribunal's like, cool, thanks for doing that. Of course, the Capitol has taken notice that she's there because they have all of this surveillance around and they know that she is Jim's charge, effectively. So they stop her when she's trying to leave the square. They're like, oh, that's cute that you think you can just leave right now. Like, no, you're not leaving, actually. You're coming with us. And so they take her not as like prisoner or anything, but definitely as like captive, I guess. It's like the middle ground there. And so they take her with them. They're like, hey, that's so cute that you showed up here. Yeah, you're coming with us. So she goes with them and she's brought into a questioning room and she is first questioned by these 2 people. They are named Tyler Struck and Xavier Ford. They will come back. You get to remember these people. So what happens, Tyler Struck and Xavier Ford, they start questioning her, and this is kind of our first glimpse into Silverblock. So Silverblock is a block of soldiers. So the soldiers and the army in this world are divided into different precious metals, but silver is the top. Like, they're like, gold exists, but gold is a lower level. You also have copper and you also have tin. I don't exactly know how it goes. I think tin is below copper though. But tin and copper are below silver and gold. Silver is at the top definitively. So it might go like silver, gold, copper, and then tin. But don't quote me on that. But so through Tyler Struck and Xavier Ford, they both come in to the questioning room, but they enter with a third person. And this third person is someone that Ren recognizes. So someone I failed to tell you about is at the very beginning of the book when Ren was busy being down bad, kind of, but not really, but just wanting to have a one-night stand with our man Jordan. It was Jordan. His name's on this page right here. Again, forgettable. So when she was trying to get away from Jordan, who, by the way, is in copper block, so boo, soldier, When she was trying to get away from him, she ran into a random room. And that random room happened to be another guest at the inn. Why his door was unlocked, we'll never know. But so she runs away from him by entering this room, and this room happens to be the room of the man who just entered here. This man is unnamed at this point, and he walks in with Tyler Struck and Xavier Ford. Obviously, Tyler and Xavier introduce themselves to Ren because Ren knows their name. I know their name at this point. And they start asking her questions, and she's like denying. She's like, I don't incite, like, I didn't know this guy was a baron. I didn't know anything about him. He's my Uncle Jim. What are you telling me about? Like, she's acting like they're rocking her world, and like they really are not. But she's a great actress. See, that's another thing to know about Ren. Her passion by no means is acting, but oh my god, this girl, she's such a great actress. Like, someone get her an Oscar. But so through Tyler and Xavier, this is our first intro into the Silver Block soldiers, and we find out that this mystery man whose hotel room she just ran into, he turns out to be a Silver Block soldier. So like, go him. He's very tall and muscly and handsome. That's really all we know about him right now. And that he's in Silver Block now. One of the things that she takes note of with these soldiers while she's like trying and like panicking for her life, she is using her gift of telepathy and like mind reading to try and get a feel for these people. And so as she's kind of like testing the waters, trying to like peek into their minds, she is kind of impressed with how sturdy their shields are. She describes them like really solid metal. And so throughout this whole like questioning process, she is just decided that she is going to play stupid. Why are you telling me that my uncle is a Barrett man who's with the uprising? Like, that's not correct. My uncle is my uncle. He is a rancher. He's a simple farmer. You know? It's not much, but it's honest work. Like, that kind of deal, right? Like, come on, just let her, you know. This is Ren. She loves ranch and ranching and horse and cattle. Like, come on. So another thing that like stood out to me here and that I've taken note of here on page 56 is the use of the word keen. I found this very interesting. I looked this up while I was reading the book. They say this word all the freaking time, and it really like got to me at this point. Up until now, there have been plenty of conversations where people are like, keen. I did look this up. I learned that this is supposedly like some kind of like Australian slang or like a thing that you use often in Australia. To me, it's just basically like, okay. Like, it was really easy to like understand the context of it all, but like, as someone who does not live in a place that says keen at all, like, to say that, like, we just say okay, it really stood out to me. Like, it was like a little bit distracting almost, but it wasn't bad. But they use the word freaking keen so many times, and it's like everyone uses the word keen. Jim uses keen, Tana uses keen, Ren uses keen, our male main character uses keen. Like, everyone does. I think the only person that we don't really hear saying it is the general, but we like don't really hear the general talk at all. But so they continue with this questioning, and they're really getting nowhere, Tyler and Xavier and this unnamed man. So they decide then to bring in the big guns. They're like, okay, well, we're going to have you be questioned by Jade, because Jade will just like take a little look-see into your mind and she'll tell us what we need to know. Like, if you're not going to talk to us, like, we won't talk to you at all. We'll just have you have your mind read. And so what we then see is this like really impressive scene that is absolutely built on the whole concept of Uncle Jim teaching her how to shield her mind. We also have this idea of decoying. So Jim would have taught her how to decoy her mind. And what that means is where like you shield your mind, and then you create a section of that shield where you allow whoever's trying to read your mind in. And in that field in your mind, in that like small section, that's where you're thinking thoughts that they want to hear. And so, thanks, Gil. And so right now, when Ren is being questioned by Jade, she's doing exactly this. She is decoying her mind to think things like, why do they think I'm here? Why are they saying all this stuff about my Uncle Jim? Like, she's decoying her mind to relay exactly what she's told Tyler and Xavier during the Thanks, buddy. But she's decoying her mind to have her thoughts line up with what she was telling Tyler and Xavier. And so when Jade sees this in her mind and she sees this decoying that she's allowed to see, she basically fails to be the world's best mind reader because she falls for it. And she's like, all right, well, she's cool. And they throw her in the cell. And so here we are now introduced to Tana's new stock in this book. Tana is our window to the outside world. She is our friend of convenience. She is our conversation of convenience. She is Tana. She is how we get news delivered very conveniently to us at the correct times. We have our first conversation with Tana since Ren has left Hamlet, and Tana's like, "Oh no, like, where are you? I'm trying to like see everything. I'm trying to like see where you are. I'm trying to like figure out what's going on with you. You know, Hamlet's been really flooded with soldiers and they're at the inn. Like, they're really freaking me out." And she's like, "Yeah, I know, girl. Like, they've been interrogating me all day. This is not good." And yeah, she is basically serving as our news about Hamlet at this point. So now we know that Hamlet is crawling with soldiers and that they are looking for things that have to do with Jim and the uprising, which is very not safe for Tana. So for Ren, this is now her only line of communication to Hamlet. She literally has no other way to get any information. And that's where I get like a kind of a weird feeling on this world, because it seems like they have access to like cell phones and stuff, but not necessarily to news about the places that they live. So that's weird. But so the next thing that kind of happens, the next major thing that happens is we are introduced to our male main character officially. His name is Cross. So Cross is the man whose room that she ran into. Cross is the man who entered when they were doing the first level of interrogation on her. Cross, she does not like. She thinks that he is an asshole. Like, literally, it says that right here. And we learn when he is being named that he is the captain of Silver Block. So he's the captain of the highest block of soldiers. So we find out that Cross is the captain of Silver Block. And at the same time, we find out that Ren's punishment for being Jim's ward and for being there when she wasn't supposed to be at the execution and for maybe possibly being a modified and an insider, her punishment is that she has been enrolled in this super elite and super competitive training program for the Silver Block. And so as the captain of Silver Block, Cross has come to tell her that that is her punishment, that she is going to have the literally opportunity of a lifetime that people spend their entire lives working for. Isn't that cool? That's kind of cool. Definitely not a slap in the face to any of the other people that have actually made it in there of their own merit, but what am I to say? And so, wouldn't you know it, the plot armor here is just so thick. It's miles thick, right? Wouldn't you know? Ren has happened to just show up here right as the next training session is about to start. She literally got there the day before. How incredibly convenient. And so the next training for Silver Block, it's starting in the next morning. She spends the night in jail and then she is brought to the barracks. She is there just in time to begin training in this super elite and competitive training program. How convenient of her to be there to serve this punishment. She is like super against this. She's like, "I don't want to work for you guys. Are you kidding me? I don't want to work for the company. You just killed my uncle. Like, this isn't cool." And she's like, she catches on very quickly. She's like, "Isn't this a reward? Like, this doesn't feel like much of a punishment if I'm in this super elite and super competitive program, just like out of nowhere." Also, they literally think that she's a traitor. Like, the reason they detained her was because they thought that she was a traitor to their government. So why are they putting her in here when they're literally going to be teaching her about what their most elite soldiers do and like how they train? Like, this, the fact that like no one was like, "Oh, hey, this might be a bad idea to give someone who we think might be a traitor literally all of our freaking trade secrets and info on our most elite and like best soldiers. Maybe we shouldn't do this." But no one has that thought. When Ren starts this training program, the first thing that she sees is a prime who she knew in her town in Hamlet. She is like super duper spooked by him because she recognizes him, first of all, but he was much older than her and she was like a young child, so he didn't really pay any mind to her, but she's glad that he doesn't really like have that moment of clarity of like, I know exactly who you are. She can like fly under the radar with him. But this guy literally, like I said, right, he's a prime. He is here working for the company in their most elite soldier block. And when he was like a teenager, he turned in his own mother for being a mod. So because of that, by extension, Ren does not trust this man at all, and she is absolutely terrified that he's going to recognize her and think like, oh yeah, she was a weird kid too, and like be responsible for killing her. So she's like super scared of him, but he doesn't really pay any mind to her. And we also find out that her recruit number is 56. So I can only imagine that there were 55 recruits planned originally. So 55 who got in here via either their own merit or via their parents. And because this is a very nepotistic society, but I'd assume that there were 55 of them. Now she is number 56. That doesn't really mean anything, but whatever. She's recruit number 56. She, goes into the training room, the very first like meeting of all of the recruits, like when this training program is starting off. She is trying to kind of like get a feel for her other recruits. And so here we learn that Ren, she's not like other mind readers, okay, guys? She's a nice mind reader. She feels like it's an invasion of privacy to read other people's thoughts. And, like, I honestly agree. I think that people should be safe in their own brains. But, girl, get that information if you need that information. Like, use your advantages. Come on. Nonetheless, she does it to get a feel on the people in her room. Most of them have shields up, and so she doesn't really waste any time on that, but there are a few people who don't really have shields at all, or who have like really, really malleable ones that she's able to get through pretty easily. And so she skips and hops into the mind of like the gal next to her, and this gal is thinking, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. She's immediately like, yep, that's why I don't do this. I feel really bad that I know that about this person now. And what do you know? She feels bad for her. So that's cool. But because of this, Ren decides to be nice to her and she befriends her. So wouldn't you know, she's already made a friend in class, and I have to think that it has to do with what she read in her thoughts. They're starting in this room. Everyone's kind of like milling about, and then they immediately tell them like, hey guys, pull out your tablets. You're going to take a test on your tablet, like just a quick little assessment. And so they ask them a bunch of stuff about like the things in the room. There was a random person in the room. What color shirt were they wearing? Did they have ear piercings? Were they holding something? How many officers were there? So she's like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do here. Am I supposed to do well? Am I supposed to not do well on this? I don't want to stand out. And so she kind of just skirts on by. She knows all of the answers to all of the questions, and so she has the ability to get 100%. She purposely answers 4 of them wrong so that she can get 60%. It is a 10-question quiz. And immediately when they finish, like they're able to like auto score this effectively. And so all of the people that get 0% on this, that like got every single question wrong, which means that they weren't like really paying attention, they are all immediately dismissed. Literally like 10 minutes into the program, they are just dismissed. And one of the people is like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I didn't even know that I was like starting an assessment. I had no idea that I was supposed to be doing this. And the command and the people that are like running this whole training program, their reasoning is like, if you can't pay attention in a low stakes situation, how can you pay attention in a high stakes situation? And like, I can get it. But so immediately in this very brutal training camp that like is going to expel, I think, most or at least half of the recruits, immediately 7 out of our 56 recruits are dismissed for not being observant enough. And sucks to suck, girl. I don't know what to tell you. But so after that little quiz that they took, all of the recruits kind of like start talking to each other. We are still in the blue sticky tabs. But so all the recruits kind of start talking to each other. The concept of a staple comes up, and a staple is effectively a Nepo baby. However, this is not an endearing term at all. I feel like sometimes Nepo baby kind of can be the way that people use it, or at least the way I think people use it. And we find out that Liddy is considered a staple. Liddy is a girl whose mind she just read and who she just became quick friends with. Liddy made it through the first test. So Liddy is considered a staple by other people, and she really resents that. And Ren has kind of crossed the point of no return with her. They are now BFFs. They will be BFFs forever. From there, Liddy, because she kind of like knows people, she's around, right? She's a staple. She's a Nepo baby. She's been around. She knows the people that are from here. She is basically like going through and giving Ren a rundown of the other people here that she knows. And so one of those people is this guy named Anson. We don't like Anson, okay? Anson sucks. My note for him is total asshat. We see him and she's like, yeah, no, he's not cool. He's like looking at them. His eyes are the color of coal, but the temperature of ice, cold and lifeless. He observes me with the intensity of a predator in the Blacklands. His lips curl in a smile and I tear my gaze away. Stay away from him, Liddy warns under her breath. Who is he? Anson. He was in upper school with me. You don't want to be around him. She thinks about it. Then in a flat voice says, he enjoys seeing people hurt. So, Anson, you don't like him. Don't worry about it. And then the next person that we're continue going through a list. I'm just kind of like picking and choosing these people. We're introduced to this guy, Kane. Kane is a shameless flirt. He is Kane Sutler from Ward D, as in dog. And he is a total flirt, but he appears to be pretty harmless. And so the three of them kind of become like this trio of friends. And Kane is just like mercilessly flirting with everyone all the time, especially with Ren. I almost forgot her name. We can't forget Ren's name though. She's our gal. The next event that happens in their first day on this training program, they are introduced to where they're going to sleep. And so Ren has been given a couple uniforms and stuff, all like kind of government issued for the training program because she wasn't allowed to bring any of her stuff from her ranch that she loves with her. So yeah, she's just kind of like doing her whole deal with what she has, which is not much because it was all taken from her. When they go into the bunks, she goes to get a bed. She claims a bed, and they are very clear about the rule of, okay, it's only one person to a bed. No more. Then this is that foreshadowing with the subtlety of a sledgehammer right there. So they're just like, oh yeah, one to a bed, no one share. No one share. What does she do that night? But she immediately shares a bed because they are one bed short. And she notices the person that doesn't have the bed, and she's like, oh, hey, you take mine. I'll go sleep with Kane. And Kane's like, oh, yeah? Okay, I'm down with this. And yeah, guess who gets in trouble for it? You'll never guess. She is like teasing Kane through this too. She's like flirting with him because like keep in mind Ren is like still the most horny person ever. So she gets into bed with Kane. She's flirting with him. She's like, ooh, ha ha ha, but what if? Ha ha ha, I'm just joking. And he's like pretty excited about it, but they don't do anything. Don't worry. So they go to bed, right? And her and Kane go to sleep in the same bed, even though they've been told you do not do that. That's not allowed. And so the next morning she wakes up and she's having this like lovely, glorious moment of being super warm because she's sharing a bed. And wouldn't you know it, one of the officers or one of like the commanding people comes in that's like running the program. One of the commanding people come in and they're like, would you look at that? What a sight to see. Two people in one bed. This is like, it's almost like we have a rule against this. And so they're like, hey, get up. And Kane and Ren go to get ready to like go and like accept their punishment. But the person that comes to get them is literally just like, no, just the girl, just Ren. We'll just take her, please. So she just takes Ren, and they go to the captain of operations, which, wouldn't you know, the captain of operations is Captain Cross. And Captain Cross is like, okay, why are you sharing beds? You're not supposed to be doing that. Like, didn't I tell you not to do that? And like almost immediately after they've had like 4 seconds of serious conversation, which don't worry, this will happen again, they just start flirting with each other. Like literally he spends about 4 seconds being like, you can't do that. And she's like, I have to do that. I'm so nice and kind and I can't just not let someone have a bed. More people are going to go home anyway. A bed will open up for me. Like, don't worry about it. He's like, no, like literally the whole point of this was for you not to give up your bed. We're trying to weed that person out. And she's like, so that's like cute that she just has her own ideas for this whole training program, but whatever. I guess she's elite enough. But so yeah, she goes to his office, they like argue and he reprimands her for all of like 4 seconds before they're just like, oh haha, you're like so hot. Oh my gosh, I love flirting with you. Because like I said, this girl is down bad constantly. She's just let off the hook. Not really anything happens to her. He just gives her a warning. He's like, I better not see this happen again. And that's it. So that's cool. That's kind of anticlimactic. And then they just walk to breakfast together. Like, that's weird. They arrive into breakfast together, which like one of the other recruits notices, and this recruit is named Ivy. You should remember her. She like takes offense to this. She's like, what the hell? Why did you just walk in with Cross? And we find out from Liddy that Ivy and Cross used to be together. So enter like our tension for the Cross and Ren relationship, because as you know, Cross is going to be our male main character. I feel like that's been set up for us with like a spotlight, you know? Cross is definitely our male main character here. So he is the love interest. Ivy is his ex-girlfriend. She is in the program. She does not like Ren. And she's trying to get Cross to get back with her. And so why she's decided to go into the program for the like to be a soldier that he would be literally be a captain over, like why is she trying to get him to be her boss? I don't really know what the logic is with that, but Ivy has chosen to take this exact route to do it. Also, notably, Ivy is in the program for the second time. It's like now or never. You can be in this program twice. She is on her second run. And then in this same conversation, we find out that Cross is not a surname. Cross is actually his first name, which is really tragic. His last name is Redden, which that means nothing to me or to you at this point, right? So Redden is the surname of the general. So he is the general's son. Cross Redden is the general. The general runs the company. The company is trying to get rid of all of the mods in this world, including Ren. The man that's in charge of all of this, Cross Redden, is his son. So this is like a big dun 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 moment. Like, oh no. And so here we are on freaking day 2. We have another character introduced here, and we have another kind of slap in the face to this super elite and super prestigious program for soldiers that have to work really hard to be in this, that can only be in this twice. We get another recruit. His name is Ro. Ro is, and I quote, the general's bastard, which is amazing. He's literally his bastard son. So the general, stepped out on his wife, and Ro is the result of that. And he joins the training on day 2, which really rubbed me the wrong way because, again, this is supposed to be like elite, super accelerated training for super elite soldiers. Also, by the way, this whole training program is 8 weeks. How are you going to get an elite soldier from high schoolers? They're described as like 18, 19-year-olds. Like this academy and this training program, honestly, just overall gives much more of like a high school vibe than it does to like a boot camp vibe to me. But the only like twist is that everyone's over 18. So they all take like their meals together. It's like very catty. Like there's like, oh, I like you. Oh, he likes me. Oh, like, no, there's like all of that kind of like schoolyard, like romance tension kind of feeling going on here. But it's set on the backdrop of war. So it's kind of, it adds to the cursedness of it all, I guess. But it doesn't take away the enjoyment at all. But so Ro is here and the bastard is joining on day 2. That's like not cool. Dude, come on. And so this training program is made up of like 7 or 8 blocks or something. The recruits in this training program are assessed and they're given a score on a scale of like 0 to 100% or a pass fail, depending on the type of test. And so the first test is marksmanship. And as we know from our opening scene with Ren, where she shot a running coyote with a child in his mouth, like she saved the child and killed the coyote at the same time. This girl can make incredible shots with her incredible modified eyesight. She does terrible in marksmanship on purpose because she's trying to fly under the radar. She gets a literal 10%. And she's like kind of mad, but also she's doing like a terrible job at like trying to sell herself as not a good marksman. Like people know, like they can kind of tell that she's like doing purposely like not good. But yeah, she gets 10%. And then she's mad when she fails this assessment because she knows that she can do better. Yet she was purposely doing bad. Like, come on, Ren, make up your mind, my gal. From there, though, we also have academic classes in this training program, and so one of the academic classes that they have is about modifieds, and it's about shielding specifically, and shielding from the modified people. And so in this class, we are introduced to the complete list of modified abilities. There are a few of them. I don't know. Count them as we go along. So the first one that they talk about are telepaths. And obviously, those are the ones that can talk telepathically with each other. And then we have projectors, the ones that can broadcast images to others. There are mind readers. They're the ones that obviously can read minds. And then there are healers, which we haven't come across quite yet. As the name implies, they heal. They have empaths. The name is also predictive for that one. And then precogs. We have people that can see the future as part of their ability. And then we have inciters, last but not least. She hates that she can incite, and she hates being reminded that she can incite. She hates being reminded that she's an inciter. And yeah, she just hates like everything about it. And so at this moment, as she is like having this like stomach dropping moment in class of like, oh my gosh, don't even remind me that I'm an insider. I hate this so much about myself. We have this flashback to her from like her memories with Jim. And we find out that literally no one knows, except for Jim, that she is an insider. And he's dead, so no one knows that she's an insider. He tells her, when he finds out, he tells her, you cannot tell anyone about this. So this is a secret that she's kept. She hasn't told Tana. She hasn't told, well, Tana's the only person that she can tell. She hasn't told Wolf, though, either, when she's talked to him. Because Jim has impressed upon her so closely and so, like, majorly, like, no one can know about this. And so no one knows about it because Ren listens to Jim. If there's one pattern that you haven't caught on to yet, it's that Ren listens to Jim. And so at the end of this shielding class, after she's kind of had like that stomach dropping moment of like, oh no, I'm an insider, they are gonna know, they move on to shielding. They talk about, you know, how one can shield better, what one should do for shielding. In order to test these shields, the only way they really can test them, you know, with a bunch of primes, right? They bring in a mod. And this mod will be coming around and around. She is going to test their shields literally every time they have class. And everyone, like, freaks out about her. All of the students are like, no, I don't want her touching me. Get her away from me. Ren is terrified and just trying to pass it off as, like, you know, being afraid of mods. But she's just terrified that this woman's going to realize that she's a mod. And all the woman really notices is that she has a really good shield. So she doesn't say anything. Our next notable thing, like that night, we have another conversation with Wolf. And then Ren kind of has this trauma dump moment with Wolf. So she is remembering this time that she almost killed Jim. Oops. Little moments, right? She's feeling guilty about this time that she remembers where she almost made Jim drive off of a bridge because she was so angry at him for not letting her hang out with her friends in town and for driving her back to the ranch, which she loves the ranch. She's so upset with him for it that she incites him accidentally to turn the car around while they're on a bridge, and he almost drives off the bridge and kills them. So that was scary for her, and she was thinking about that, and that's part of the reason why she feels so bad about inciting. That evening, she's chilling. Her and Kane are going for a walk. They go up towards like the edges of where this base is that they're at, and there's someone making a delivery, and there's a motorcycle there, and Ren is like, ooh, what if I just like left? You know, what would they actually do to me? What could this government company that runs this entire world that I live in, what could they possibly do if I just decided to run away? Surely nothing could happen. So Ren, when she sees this unattended motorcycle while this person is distracted doing a delivery, she's like, okay, cool. I'm going to take this motorcycle and I'm going to drive away. And in doing that, she completely disregards the fact that there is a literal force field that is surrounding this base that will electrocute her if she drives into it with the motorcycle. And so she is driving away on this motorcycle while she's still inside of the force field. And Cross is approaching her on his own motorcycle. And he's like, hey, you should stop. There's a force field. And she's like, I'm running away. And he's like, that's a really bad idea. I wouldn't do that. And then she like sits there and she keeps going towards the force field for a few more seconds. And then she's like, wait. Maybe I don't want to be electrocuted and thrown off of this bike right now. Maybe I should reconsider. And so she does. Miracle of miracles. Ren has a thought that like is actually helpful. And when Cross is like chasing her down and like as she's like actively on this motorcycle and like talking to Cross, and he's like, don't do it. And she's like, I'm gonna do it. Like, she immediately just looks at him and she's just like, oh my God, he's so hot. Like, lest we forget that Ren is like the most down bad for this man ever. She is immediately just like, oh my God, he's so hot though. So that's just like funny, right? And so she stops before she makes it to the force field. She doesn't get thrown off the bike. She like goes back to where Cross is. And you know, this girl's so down bad that she literally offers to have sex with him to get out of this whole thing. She's like, what if I just like, you know, got in bed with you and we forgot that this whole thing happened tonight? Like, what are the chances of that happening? And he's like, okay, cool. Yeah. And he just like starts getting ready, like literally right there. He just like starts, you know, fiddling with his pants and like getting himself ready to go. And he calls her bluff basically immediately. She's like, no, I didn't mean it. I wasn't being serious. And he's like, yeah, I know. He's just like, checkmate. And then like, that's that. And she like just, she goes back to bed, seemingly with no punishment, but rest assured, they are all punished. So several hours later, before they're supposed to be waking up, before they're expecting to be waking up, they all get very abruptly broken up and they are made to run until the sun comes up. So the sun is still down when they're all beckoned, and it's all of the black cell. So right after they started the program, they were divided in half into the black cell and the red cell. Ro and Ren and Liddy and Kane, they are all in the black cell, and we do not see the red cell ever. The red cell basically doesn't exist. So we're in the black cell right now. But so everyone in black cell is made to get up and go running until the sun comes up. So some unforetold amount of time that I would guess is probably like an hour and a half. And additionally, they cannot stop running until the sun comes up. Otherwise, they are cut from the program. So that's kind of cool. And it doesn't appear that anyone was cut out of the program because of this, but they were all certainly big mad with her. But so the next thing we get is this kind of like flashback of Ren talking about like, ooh, Jim taught me about survival. And so that's our like not so subtle foreshadowing of her literally trying to survive in here. We have like this hand-to-hand combat class where they're all sparring with each other. And surprise, surprise, Ren is purposely doing bad. She is not doing as well as she could because Jim trained her. And if we should know anything by now, we know that Jim is like training her to be the most elite person ever. At the end of that training, they go to the shooting range. She is introduced to a new gun, and people are like, wow, you seem to be really salivating over this gun for being a terrible shot. And she's like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's part of my undercoverness, isn't it? Whoops, sorry. So that's kind of cute. Later, they like go to dinner, and Ren has another convenient little flashback about this burn that she has on her thigh. So one thing about Ren, she has this incredible burn on her thigh. It reaches like pretty far. Like it seems like it goes from like her hip almost to like her knee or something. Like it's huge. You know, it got to be like at least a couple feet long. And like it's her whole thigh too. And so we find out through this very convenient flashback that she's having that Jim inflicted that burn on her. So when she was like 8 or 12 or something, she developed a blood mark, which is a birthmark, but it's only a birthmark that appears on super powerful modified people. So people that have more than 4 gifts, well, that have 4 or more gifts. And when hers appeared, Jim noticed, and Jim was like, oh, this isn't good. Because not only does this mark you as a modified, this marks you as a very powerful modified person. So he is like, oh no, that's not cool in his head. But at this point, Ren is literally a child. She is like in the single digits. And he's like, hey, you should come stand next to me and just stand really still. And he pours a pot of boiling water on her where her blood mark is so that it's covered up. And we find out that him doing this is really him protecting her because now no one can see her blood mark. When the skin healed, the blood mark didn't like come through the scarring at all. It's literally just sitting there underneath like all the scar tissue. He burned the shit out of her to protect her. They're all like kind of staring at her and giving her these weird looks because they all know who her uncle is, and they're like now immediately suspicious of her in this training program because they're like literally being trained to destroy these like people like her uncle. And they find out that she, you know, was his niece, and now everyone's like looking at her like, what is wrong with you? I don't trust you. Yeah, they're not being very nice to her. But so there's this gal named Kess that comes on the scene now, and Kess is just like being really mean. She's being specifically mean about Uncle Jim. And Ren understandably takes offense to that. So what Ren does in the dining hall at breakfast, they call it morning meal, whatever. So what she does is she comes up to Ren and she's being a total meanie about her Uncle Jim. And Ren decides it's a really good time at that moment to just beat the bloody hell out of Jess. She beats her up so badly that she has to be taken to medical. And in the process of beating her up so badly, she accidentally reveals to literally everyone, including all of her instructors, that she is actually a very good fighter because Kess has one of the highest marks in the program so far in fighting. And everyone's just like, Ren, my dear, where did this come from? So, whoops-a-doodles. So, for the second time in her first week at school, Ren is escorted back to the captain's quarters, and wouldn't you know, they have about 4 seconds of serious conversation of, hey, you can't just go around beating people up for saying mean things about your uncle. That's just kind of how life is. Your uncle was a mod. We are the company. You got to get over it. And then immediately they're just like, ooh, they're just like eyeing each other, they're flirting with each other. That's it. He really doesn't do anything to like punish her in any way. They literally just stand there, they have a moment of tension, and then it releases and boom, done. That's it. Okay. Then we kind of get like this moment into Ren's mind where she really thinks that she's doing like a great job of flying under the radar. And then her like classmate Liddy, she just totally calls her out. She's like, you know, you could like be way better at this if you applied yourself. To me, that kind of like reveals Liddy as a little bit naive, honestly. And then they all have like, they've all been there for like a week or two, and they all are getting a leisure pass for the day. So they can all go out on Sunday and do whatever they want. So a lot of them are planning to go visit like their families and stuff. But this is going to be a theme that occurs. Ren is not afforded this same thing. She is not able to go see anyone. She's not given a leisure pass to leave the base on this weekend. And she's like really bitter about it. She requests to go see the captain from one of the officers, like one of their teachers. And that person says no. In order to go see the captain, captain, she then proceeds to throw this officer's food at the wall. They're having stew that night, and they describe the stew like falling down the wall. But so she like goes, she throws his tray against the wall, and she's like, "Can you please take me to the captain now?" And the person's just like, "No." But now, like, literally everyone in her program knows the tea that she's not allowed to leave and that she's being, like, specially punished compared to the rest of them. So that's cool for her. At this point, though, on, like, her day off, she has another, like, convenient conversation with Wolf. And they literally are, like, he's sitting in there and he's just like, haha, we don't know each other. Isn't that so cool? These conversations with Wolf, too, I feel are just, like, primarily used as a way to, like, have appropriate lore drops for Ren and just kind of like getting like moving the plot along and like also giving us like information about like her background and stuff. While she's like here in the program for these first couple weeks, she's also been talking to Tana and she's been like asking for help. She's been asking for her to try and get her out of there. And she's starting to come to this realization that she really just needs to like save herself. So the first thing that she does to that end is to just start scouting. She starts walking around just trying to get a lay of the land, trying to see like what the, you know, schedules are for the guards, but like where the cameras are, how she can like skirt around them, all that kind of good stuff that one does when they scouts. She starts just figuring it out. And while she's out, literally on this very first walk of hers, there's a guard that like sees her and is like, "Hey, you need to," and then he like stops and he gets a comm on his like little earpiece. And so she rapidly finds out that the guards on the base are being told not to stop her. While she's out on this little like escapade, Cross follows her and she passes it off as like a grieving walk, and she goes and she walks onto the like gate around the square. It's like within an area that she can walk to that's on base. But so she goes up to like one of the big gates that are around that execution square, and she is going up there and just like scouting, but also like very much grieving Jim. Cross follows her and they proceed to have a, you know, one of those classic high places close heart to hearts over the execution square. And so we've now arrived at that Sunday where the leisure pass is being taken. So she has one day to herself, literally, after being with these people constantly and like sharing a just giant like sleep deck effectively with like all of the recruits in the black cell. And she's immediately like, I miss everyone. I miss some company. I need some people around. Like, that would never be me. I would take so much solace in having like a day to myself like that. But yeah, so she is like, she's, you know, going crazy. She looks up what's called the Sunpost bombings because they brought them up during her questioning about her Uncle Jim. That is restricted. She tries to look up Cross Redden. That's also restricted. And she's like, dude, why are we censoring so much information? So once everyone comes back, you know, she's better now because everyone's back. And the next day, they're asked to like fill out this questionnaire on their tablets for school. The only question that's on there is, what are your biggest weaknesses? Her biggest weaknesses are impulsiveness, impatience, and classroom learning, which I think like a lot of people can relate to, right? I love it. They also are given at this point their radio call signs. And so keep in mind, our gal's name is Ren, right? You're going to hate this as much as I hate it. Her code name is Broken Dove. Broken Dove is what Cross called her that night when they were having that nice little heart-to-heart on the gates above the execution square. He said, he's like, oh, you're going to be a broken dove if you fall. Why are you Dove? Why are you Ren? Why aren't you Dove? And he's like making fun of her, right? And so like, her code name is Broken Dove. Like, are you kidding me? This is like the worst nickname. It sucks as a nickname. But this is also like one of the worst code names you could have chosen because like her name is Ren. You're calling her Dove. That's like not even a far leap in logic at all. What are you even talking about? And then Broken Dove? Ugh, yuck. No, thank you. We have now officially entered like the second half of the training program. So I guess this is actually going a little bit faster than I thought. She says as we're like not even halfway through yet. But so the first operation that they have is to infiltrate a building, locate a target, and then eliminate it. They'll be doing this in pairs. And she, of course, is paired up with Kess, who, keep in mind, they just beat each other up. And she sent Kess literally to the hospital. So that'll be fun for them to do. And she very obviously throws the mission, and Kess is mad as hell, but they get a fail, and it's because she purposely tripped an alarm that apparently was easy to see to someone that should be looking, which she should be looking. So a couple days pass. Kess is really mad at Ren, and we are now getting another like world building / lore moment. So we learn about this place called Tierra Fe. This is an island nation that is completely cut off from the place that they are living, which I don't think they actually tell us what the name of it is, but it's like one landmass where all the wards in this capital city are, and right now Ren is in the capital city. Tierra Fe is described as being south, and it is completely independent. It is like an island. It's across an ocean from this place. So they aren't just going to like run into each other on foot. And Tierra Fe like totally hates their nation, and they're completely cut off. If you approach it as a person from that land, they will literally kill you on sight. They will not take you prisoner. If they do take you as a prisoner, like you're on a boat, like you can't come on their land at all, but they will more than likely just kill you on sight. Not great, but that's Tierra Fe. That's where they get their coffee from. And Tierra Fe is also kind of terrified of the biotoxin that makes people modifieds. So that's like the main driver for why they don't have that relationship. And so we do also see a little bit of the lore on why primes hate mods so much. Basically, when the mods were in charge, they wouldn't let the primes do like anything. So there were people that like couldn't be doctors, they couldn't pursue, these lines of work. The example that we're given is someone saying that their father is at that point a really gifted surgeon and a really like gifted doctor of medicine. They weren't able to pursue it in any way before the primes were in control because the mods just wouldn't let them do it because they had healers. Which, I mean, like, fair enough. If you can do something easier and not have to like have people spend 12 years in school to do something, like, it makes sense. But also you shouldn't just not be giving people opportunities because they don't have magic. That's kind of messed up. But so the primes weren't really allowed to do much. Now that they're in charge, the primes just want all of the mods to die because the primes feel like they can't really live in peace until all of the mods are gone, which is kind of a messed up line of thinking, I would say, but that's whatever. And so after this, we get another Tana check-in. Ren is like not a great friend to Tana. So like this whole time, every single time she talks to Tana, she's just like, I need help. Give me help. Give me help. Hey, Tana, help me. Help me. And Tana's like, girl, I don't even know how to help myself right now. And so here on the ripe old page of 188, Ren finally remembers that they are friends, and she asks Tana how she's doing, and she finds out that Tana is doing bad. Great. And she offers her basically no support other than, I love you, Tana. Keep hanging in there. So Ren is not being a great friend to Tana. Tana is not having a great time with her friend not being good to her. So after that operation that we had where Ren was paired up with Kess for that infiltration and, elimination kind of test, Ren steals a dagger in like the whole shuffle of everyone coming back in and returning their weapons, because they're not allowed to keep weapons on their person. But so Ren sees her moment and she steals a dagger. This is something that she immediately uses in the next chapter because Anson comes and tries to force himself on her. And that is very much not good. And for some reason, Cross is walking right by the bunk rooms where they're all staying. And he interrupts this, and Cross sees Ren with a knife up at Anson's throat, and he literally does nothing about it. So when he sees that she has a dagger, he asks her, like, oh, hey, where'd you get that from? She's like, oh, I stole it because of the whole shuffle coming back. And he was like, all right, well, only use that in these kinds of situations. You should keep that, though. So that's kind of cool that he's like, oh yeah, you need some protection on you, but also like, why are we not punishing Anson? Because that's like super not okay. This man is like sharing a bedroom with these people. Like, you shouldn't allow that kind of behavior for anyone. I don't care if this is like the super elite training squad. Whatever. The next kind of like world building thing that we're introduced to is the concept of pit night. Pit night is fight night. And the one of the things that we get to see along with pit night is women be makeuping and fashioning in war. But so they go and they get ready. The girls do. A drive-by character, Bettina, don't worry, you don't have to remember her. And then we have Ren, you do have to remember her, and Liddy, who we'll keep coming back up to. And so the three of them are like, ooh, let's go get ready. And Fatima loans her a pair of jeans. They look really good on her because, of course, she's the female main character. And then they go to the fight ring. They learn the one rule of fight night or pit night is that everyone lives. And that's the only rule. So you can tell where this is going to go. While she's at pit night, Ro comes up. So Ro is Cross's younger brother, his half brother, because Ro is the general's bastard. But so Ro comes up and he just like starts being like a total ass to her. And he's like, you know that my brother Cross doesn't really go for girls like you, right? He likes them helpless. And she's like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't believe you. And that's basically it. And she's just like staring daggers at Cross from across the thing. And Ro is basically just telling her, he's like, you really shouldn't pursue my brother. He's like really not worth your time. And Ren's like, I don't know about that one. But then who do we see getting into the pit but Cross and Xavier? Xavier, if you don't remember, is one of the interrogators that interrogated Ren when she first came on the scene here in the capital. And so Cross then proceeds to have an absolutely brutal fight with Xavier. And when he gets out, he immediately just like beelines it to Ren and he just starts talking to her and flirting with her while he's like actively bleeding out of his face. And to which I say, like, this is real subtle, guys, like no one is going to know that anything is going on. Like Ren going to your captain's office, like literally all the freaking time. Like no one is ever going to clock this with how, nice and subtle you two are being. Like, come on. But then we also see that like during the fight too, Ren is like absolutely entranced watching him. She's just like, whoa, you can fight. So yeah, they get out, they're having this conversation like and flirting and stuff. And then when Ren like leaves, when she's trying to leave pit night and she's just like, I don't want to be here anymore, Cross follows her. And he tries to hit on her even harder at this point, which is like not exactly what she needs. And so, yeah, like she's like low key just like loving it. But at the same time, she's like, no, stop. But then he like actually stops and she's like, no, that's not what I wanted. So yeah, like girl needs to make up her mind. Now we're going into like the second operation, and the second operation is to scale a building and to jump down onto the neighboring building. It's a floor shorter. And amazingly, our gal does not mess this one up. She actually does the whole friggin' thing. So she is also a good supportive friend to Libby. Like Ren is acting completely out of character in this moment. She's doing well. She's supporting her other friend who has a fear of heights. And she's like doing the damn thing. Everyone is like doing really well. And then Glenn Cotter, don't worry, you don't have to remember him. He is a drive-by character. Poor Glenn. He is climbing up the building, he loses his footing, and he falls. And poor Glenn, there's a fence around this building that they're scaling up. Poor Glenn falls exactly on the fence. And Batima is there. Batima with the jeans, mind you. She is there. She is freaking out. She's like completely freaking out. And then literally everyone that's there for this training, they're just standing around Glenn as he's dying. But so there's Glenn Cotter. Rest in peace. Never forget. Sorry, bro. So later that night, Batima's like bugging, right? Because she just watched this guy die. She's obviously not used to it. She goes up to the gates to go process everything. Ren follows her. She brings like their version of a J. It's called Yucca. And they're like up there, she's smoking it. She takes like a puff off of it, and then Ro and Anson come out of the doors because they followed them up there. And Ro just hauls off and shoots Batima for being an aberrant. He just accuses her and immediately shoots her. Ren is sweating bullets, mind you, because she's like, oh no, he ousted me. He found me. This is so not good. And yeah, it turns out it was Batima. And Batima, her modified power is being an empath. So Batima, yeah, she watched someone die, and sometimes when other people are having like really, really strong emotions, it can trigger an empath to act like against their will, basically. And that was exactly what was happening, because as one can imagine, as you're actively dying, that brings on a lot of really strong emotions. So, yeah. So the next like kind of major scene that we come upon is another like fighting scene. So Kes has challenged Ren to fight again during sparring class. And Ren intentionally breaks her wrist while doing this fight in order to try and get herself out of the program. Because she found out if you get injured, you can be removed from the program. So that was her plan, right? That was cute. Not so fast, Ren. Turns out when he found out that she was injured, Cross literally flew in, one of the loyalist modified people. He flew in a healer that they had on hand so that they could heal Ren's wrist so that she could no longer get out of the program by having an injury. And she was mad. It was really funny. But then, like, so Ren is, like, talking to the Uprising. She's saying, like, hey, guys, I need help. Like, please help me. And, you know, like, tell me what I need to do to get your help. And so the Uprising tells her, like, okay, so since we're down a person, you need to make it into Silver Elite. Which, Leonardo DiCaprio moment. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, they said the word, Silver Elite, and she needs to replace Batima. So Batima was meant to be the person that was going into Silver Elite. And of course she didn't make it because Batima has died. So they're saying Batima was meant to do that, and Ren was like, oh, I don't know about that one, Chief. I'm actually failing the program right now. And they're like, okay, well, it looks like you need to pull it together then because you need to join Silver Elite if we're going to do anything with you. And she's like, okay. From here, we basically go into like a training montage where it's like, you know, the final countdown. And she is like doing, you know, bossing all of her training that she has to do now. She is doing amazing. But she is being given artificially low marks now because she was such an ass for the first 2 weeks of the training that like all of her instructors kind of have it out for her now. And so, you know, that's great, Ren. Like maybe you should have thought of that. So whatever. She's actually doing better, but her scores are artificially low, but they are actually higher than they were before. So, you know, go figure. So next we're kind of introduced to this intelligence class that they've been taking, and from that class Ren steals a jammer. And so what these jammers do is they will literally jam like cameras and stuff so they'll stop recording. So she steals one of those so that she can go and like sneak about, basically. The first thing she does with that jammer is she sneaks over to Cross's like his room, his barracks, and Cross is like mid hookup with this random person that we will never ever see again, and they'll never ever come up again. Cross immediately kicks this woman out of his room when he sees that Ren has showed up, and he sits down to have a drink with Ren and a chat, and she reveals to him that she has the jammer, and he's like, oh haha, that's funny, you're gonna get that guy in trouble, but you should keep it, maybe you should use it another time. And so, like, he literally, this is just another example of him being like, oh, yeah, no, let's just definitely flirt. Like, it doesn't matter that I'm, like, your captain and that I'm your superior. No, let's definitely just flirt with each other over this stuff. Also, I'm just never going to punish you for anything that you do wrong. So, that's cute. Also, yeah, he just kicks out his hookup, like, mid-hookup. It's so funny. After that, they do another op. And this one is out in the desert. And so the operation itself is literally parachuting. So what they do for that is they get in a plane and they go parachute down, and they're now in the desert. And out in the desert, they have this fun little like romantic sleepover. Ren gets to shower near Cross. Like they're showering at this, like they have like a big shower facility, and the two of them happen to be showering at the same time. And Cross's really close friend, Xavier Ford, who we already met during the interrogation, he delivers that classic line to Ren of, "Oh, you have a special effect on him. Oh, you're a special lady for my guy Cross." So that's amazing. And then the next test that we see them going through is this test literally called Wait for Rescue. That is the name of the test. I'm sure you can imagine what this test entails. If you can't, it involves waiting for rescue. So Ren and Kane are like flirty guy, right? That she's been hanging out with. They, as one can imagine, fail the sit and wait test. As Ren puts it, she describes it as, "I'm gonna save myself." Da da da. And, Cross is like, "Okay, but do you see how this is flawed? Like, you can't just save yourself. Sometimes you need to think about, like, the whole op." And she's like, "You're wrong. I saved myself." And so next we get some lore on our blood marks. This is where we learn that only the most powerful mobs actually bear a blood mark. So, according to Uncle Jim, you have to have at least 3 abilities in order to get a blood mark. He hasn't seen anyone that had less than 3 have a blood mark. Ren knows that she has 4, and there is a possibility that she has more that are just laying dormant inside of her, but these would likely only be like brought to light if like something really big was happening to her, like something really dramatic, and she was feeling a lot of like really intense or strong emotions. And so this is brought up because Jade has walked in. And the reason Jade has walked in is because Jade can see the future. She has the gift of precog. And what do you know, in that future, she can see that Peter is going to be responsible for unaliving like 6 other soldiers if he makes it through into Silverblock. And so she comes in to dismiss him. She says, "Hi, thank you so much for applying. You have been denied at this time because, whoops, your future actions are not going to be good." And he's like, "What are you talking about? This isn't fair." And they're like,
"Actually, no, this is incredibly fair. Now you're not going to have that on your conscience."
And I guess that's that, right? On the heels of this, we do have another wolf talk coming in. So we do have another plot and emotional moment. He is sitting here describing the same view that he always does of a very calm ocean and a boat. And that is all that we need to know about that. And so then after this, later in the evening, Ren's like, "Ooh, I'm going to go for a walk." And Cross is like, "Ooh, I'm going to come with you." And he doesn't actually say that. He just starts following her. And then they immediately start flirting with each other and start talking about like relationships and totally weird stuff, considering that he's like her commanding officer. And then they kiss. Fireworks everywhere. I don't know. They kiss. And we get this little, like, we have like these little infographic page things on most of like the trials that they face. And it's like the little screen of what their score looks like. And so she failed Wait for Rescue. So to the surprise of absolutely no one. And so now we are down to a total of 38 recruits. The black cell has 20. So Ren's cell has 20. And red, they have 18. And after they all go jogging, because Red Cell has deemed to be too unfit, so they all have to go jogging, Ren sees Cross, and she is like immediately down bad for this man because she is Ren Darlington. And she also has an awkward run-in with, wouldn't you know it, freaking Jordan. Oh, so funny. And then she finds out that she is about to be sent on her undercover mission. She also learns, to the surprise of no one, Cross is going to be her chaperone / assessor. And then her mission is to collect intel from a brothel under the cover of looking for a job. And so what do you know? She goes and does that. And then Cross actually does show up there because we find out that he is a regular at this brothel, which is hilarious considering he's the general's son. And Ren like shits a brick while she's there. She is freaking out. And Cross asks for her time from the brothel owner. And so she goes over and like she agrees to do it. The brothel owner's like, you got to do that. This is your interview right now. Go be with a client. And so she goes and she sits on his lap and they flirt with each other. He turns off his little communication device so like they can have a private conversation. They end up having like a really deep heart to heart, considering she's like playing the part of, you know, a sex worker trying to apply for a job. And yeah, they talk about what it's like for him to be the general's son. So it's cool, but like, why are they doing this in public? And then we also get like this kind of interesting lore drop. At least I thought it was really interesting. There's not really any paper in this world because all of the trees were like burned down or like cut down. And there are no trees. Like all the trees that are there now are really small. And so by extension, they don't really have any paper. And I read it as there are really no trees in this world. I thought that was really interesting. But so immediately after the undercover assessment, Ren is summoned to Cross's quarters for a debriefing. And of course, Cross being himself and Ren being herself, they are both immediately horny. And Cross opens up the debriefing by telling Ren that her lover, Jordan, from the very beginning of the book, has been sent away for literally no other reason than Cross was jealous of Jordan, like, being nice to her and like hugging her or something. I think he like put his hand on her waist or something like that. Like he literally was just like, oh, hi, it's so great to see you. And like, that was it. And Cross was like, oh, he's been sent away. He's in one of the wards now. So that's hilarious. Cross also takes this moment when they are debriefing from an assessment to tell Ren that he loves her. And Ren is immediately like, okay, you know what? Let's just bang it out once and then we'll just never do it again. You know, let's just get it once just out of our system. That'll be fine. We also find out in this talk that she passes. That happened in like the 4 seconds that they were talking about the actual assessment. So congratulations, Ren, you did it. And then they bang. And to the surprise of absolutely no one, Ren immediately regrets it. So, sorry, girl. That sucks. And so from here, we go into another assessment called Fallen Soldier. And in that assessment, Ren refuses repeatedly. So she gets 2 attempts on this. She refuses both times to leave her friend behind in Fallen Soldier. And so she fails it. So the test is designed to make them leave that person behind to kind of like weed out anyone who's incapable of doing that in a situation where they would die because they are trying to take out their fellow soldier. And so they fail her and she is summoned to Cross's office because she's been failed on it. And they talk about it for like 2 minutes. Cross confesses that he's in love with her again and she refuses him. You know, she refuses to like bed with him. And mysteriously, after she's explained to him why she would never, ever, ever leave someone behind because she is absolutely incapable of doing it because she is just such a great person, her course mark mysteriously just changes to pass with no question about it. So that's interesting. And then our very last test, our final like assessment that the recruits have to do is called Resistance to Interrogation, or RIT. And they are very abruptly taken into this because this is resistance to interrogation, right? Like they're, you know, prisoners at this point, or at least they're playing prisoner at this point. And so Ren finds out that she is bunking it with Ivy and with Ro, so 2 of like her biggest enemies on this planet right now. They are in like a train car, and we basically just get like a torture montage. It's kind of intense. It's not very fun to go over. But during all of this, Ren just decides that she's going to try and see if she can read either Ivy's mind or Ro's mind. She reads Ivy's mind and like immediately regrets it because Ivy is just thinking about doing this for her sister who died of blood cancer. And Ro, his shield is actually up, so she doesn't read his mind. And so at this point, while they're trying to distract themselves from the very last part of the torture simulation, we get this kind of lore drop that there used to be 26 wards in this world, but now there are actually closer to 18. As there were like natural disasters happening in this world, they started combining different wards because they were like going underwater, they were becoming like uninhabitable, all these different things, all these like major climate change kind of deals. And so Ren is trying to distract Ivy with this by just like talking to her about literally anything else. And the three of them kind of have like a bonding moment that is definitely a trauma bond moment. And so then we are just in time for another Tana chat. So all Tana has to say is that there are still soldiers everywhere in town and that she does not like it. And so once the torture simulation has ended, after I think like 5 days, all of the recruits are given 4 days off. And 2 of those days they are allowed to like be off the base. So like they can go somewhere overnight. And yeah, of course, Ren does not get that same pass. She can't go anywhere, but she doesn't mind this time. And so they are given 4 days off. And then immediately when they come back, they're given the results of the training program that they just completed. To which I say this makes no sense, because why don't they just do that right after they're done and then get the 4 days off? Because then you don't have to spend 4 days wondering if you like made it in or not. So like, I don't know. I think that's kind of stupid, honestly. But like, I don't get it at all. I would rather do it in the opposite order, where like I go through the last test, I get cleaned up, I debrief from that, and then I'm told my results, and then I get 4 days off to go recuperate from that. Like, I feel like that would make it much easier, because then at least I can know if I can like celebrate or not. But whatever, that's just me. And so 4 days later, when everyone has come back, they're all like healed a little bit from the trauma they've just been put through. Ren finds out that she is selected not only to be in Silver Block, but she's also selected for the elite test. And then immediately after that, Pit Night happens. Pit Night happens a lot more regularly now, now that they're 8 weeks in. And Ren borrows one of the undercover dresses. So like when she went to that bar to apply to work at the brothel, she had like a dress that was provided for her by the company. And they're able to borrow another one for this Pit Night. And she specifically wears one to impress Cross with. And to the surprise of absolutely no one, as soon as they see each other, they are both absolutely horny. As soon as they see each other. So that's cool. But never fear. They are interrupted by Ro, who is on drugs, and he challenges Cross to fight him in Pit Night because he is really mad that he was not shortlisted for Elite Squad. And wouldn't you know, Cross beats him to a bloody pulp, and Ro then proceeds to just absolutely rage in this bloody sand that they were just fighting on. So that was a cute look for him. So at this point, we're introduced to another drive-by character. Their name is Bryce. Bryce is Ren's dueling mate for the elite test. So the elite test is that they have to duel until someone either taps out or dies. 2 people go in, 1 person comes out of this duel. The person that comes out is the person that's an elite squad. And so Bryce is the child of someone who is like very high up in this military. Her father comes to watch her duel with Ren for elite squad. And Bryce really, really wants to impress her father. And she knows the only way she can really do this is by being an elite squad. And so he comes, he watches Ren unalive Bryce to make it into elite, because Bryce will not back down. And Ren really has no emotion about it. She's quite cold about it. And literally, like, as he's leaving the arena, after he just watched this happen to his own flesh and blood daughter, he just nods at Ren like, good job, kid. Yeah, you done did a good job. And that's it. There goes Bryce. Sorry, Bryce. I will forget you. And Ren then finds out later, when she's like debriefing with Kane, she finds out that she's the only one that actually killed someone in their matchups and their duels to get into Elite. And so we find out that the new people on Silver Elite are Ren, of course, Kane, our boy, Kess, ew, Anson, ew, Jones, unknown, and some unnamed person from Red Cell, because the rest of them are all from Black Cell, and they're the only ones that matter. And I think my note on here says noob. That's funny. Okay, so some Red Cell noob. In her first night as a Silver Elite soldier, Ren makes it her first order of business to bang her now official captain, Cross, in her new barracks. Immediately after they do that, they discuss the new elites. They take, 10 seconds to have this conversation and just talk about, and she's like, I really hate that Anson's here. I'll have some questions about these choices. And he's like, don't question me. I'm your captain. Like, yeah, sir. Did you think about that? 10 minutes ago? Come on. And after they have this weird ass conversation, after she bangs her captain, her freshly minted captain, mind you, she's no longer just in training, who is walking up to their own barracks, who is in the same place because they're soldiers on the same rank, but Ivy. Ivy literally catches Cross leaving Ren's room. Le oops. And Ivy, if you don't remember, is Cross's ex-girlfriend, so she has every reason to be, big mad about this kind of development. So she's not happy. On her first mission, Ren is assigned to help take down a smuggler. She learns that she is going to Ward C, and she also learns that Anson and Jones and Cross are going to her village, Hamlet, in Ward Z. And Ren is immediately, bugging. And she talks to Cross about this after and during the meeting. She's like, I don't want Anson to go to my town because Anson is the worst. Why are you letting him do this? And Cross is like, don't question me. You can't go to Hamlet because you literally are from there. You can't do anything undercover there. And she's like, nah. Which, girl, come on. You're using code names. That's not going to work for you in freaking Hamlet. There's 12 people that live in Hamlet, and all of them know you because you love ranching and ranch, and that's, you own the biggest fucking ranch. And Ren, you're stupid. That's all I gotta say. So anyway, you remember that code name that I had so much to say about, Broken Dove? And from a while ago from school, that everyone got to know about. Yeah, Broken Dove is now her real life field name, and I hate it because it's so awful and bad and stupid. I've already been through that whole logic, right? Her name is Ren. Why would you make her code name Dove? Why would you do Broken Dove? Why would you ever do this? Literally, Cross calls her this as a pet name throughout this entire book. Are you kidding me? Why are we using this as a code name? This is such an awful code name. They have to know, they can know one thing about her or even about him and they would know her freaking code name. This is not a good code name. You need a better one. But so while they're in Ward C, they're looking through these hospitals because someone's smuggling supplies out of these hospitals. And so her and Kane, they've been assigned there together. They're looking through it and they stumble upon these fragmented people. Now, fragmented people are modifieds, but they're people that couldn't handle the telepathy nature of it all. And so they're just constantly being bombarded by other people's thoughts and making connections, breaking connections, all this kind of stuff. They can't control the magic in them working. It just kind of is on all the time. And they're suffering massively. So, yeah. We also find out when she is reeling from this and talking to other people in the uprising that the uprising is very well aware that these people exist and they're not that worried about it. And she is starting to get really disillusioned. So after they have completed their mission in the hospital, Kane and Ren are called to Ward Z. Why? I don't freaking know. But so they're called to Ward Z after completing their mission at the hospital in C. And now Tana and her dad are in questioning because they were caught running after Ren tipped them off that Anson and co were going to be going to friggin' Hamlet. And so now, since Ren tipped them off and they tried to run and they got caught in a totally different ward, they're about to be tried. They're probably going to be killed. And Ren is here frantically negotiating for anything to keep them alive, which means that she is sitting there negotiating for them to be enslaved by the company. Which, if you ask me, that's a fate worse than unaliving, but whatever. And so, while they're there and while they're doing this questioning, Anson attacks Tana, very violently. And Tana unalives Anson. And then Ren shows up and she's like, oh no, I'm going to cover this up. And she does so by saying that Ren, did it in self-defense after she interrupted Anson attacking Tana, and he shot at her so that he could continue to attack Tana. And Tana is like completely just freaking out. You know, she's just been like horribly attacked by this guy, Anson. And she just watched Ren like totally like smooth calculator go into like this trance and just kind of fix it for her. And then after this, because Ren has accepted basically this plea deal on Tana and her father's behalf, she is very swiftly from here sent to a labor camp with her dad. But she is by herself because the men and the women are separated there. So she's sent to a labor camp. And she, like, her whole world is just shattered because her best friend just got her sent to a labor camp. And so, yeah. We time skips forward a little bit more. We go forward a few days and we find out that just the entire time that Ren has been in Silverblock, she's just been so down bad for Cross this entire time. She's been thinking about him. She's been like totally turned on for him. Like this man was like, she runs into him in the hallway. He's literally heading to a meeting with his brother who like she just denied being in a relationship to when she was in that same room with him that Cross is about to go into. And she just denied it to him, and like literally like no one is like stopping them. It seems like it's like everyone knows what's going on between the two of them and literally no one can be bothered to stop them. And my question is just why? Like why is this allowed to happen? But whatever. I guess that's just me. But that's part of what makes this book so cursed, you know? Like literally like it's like the worst kept secret and just no one is doing anything about it. And we just have so many people of convenience. It's oh my god. I love it. It was so bad. And so the uprising asks Ren for some coordinates about like some of their weapons caches and stuff. And so she of course gives it to them because she is now a double agent that is working for the uprising while being in Silver. And she leaks some info to them that results in action. So the uprising is able to get very close to bombing one of the caches. And at this point, Kane says like some weird stuff that will come up later, just about like the uprising and stuff. He kind of drops some clues that you would only know if you've like read it before. So before like they really go do anything else too, while everyone's here on base, the Silver Elite team goes in for some medical checks. And Cross and Ren, of course, are just sitting there being horny for each other. And everyone else is getting checked. And here's the thing, though, that, like, kind of weirded me out this. Literally everyone is getting checked together in the same room, and they're standing there observing each other's, like, exams. So this, to me, says that in this world, there's literally no HIPAA, like, at all. No one is protecting these people's medical information. Because, yeah, they're just sitting there having exams. And when it's Ren's turn, the healer that they brought in, the same healer who actually was brought in to heal her wrist a few weeks ago, she like freaks out when he offers to heal the burn that's on her leg because he takes a look at it and he's like, oh, this probably hurts, right? Like I could fix this in like 5 minutes. And everyone around her is like, why are you bugging about this? Like he can just fix it. Just let him fix it. It'll be so easy. And then she like panics and starts like waxing philosophical about like, oh, my scars make me who I am. And I don't want to, I want a reminder of, you know, who I can and can't trust. And so that is funny. I also have a feeling that she may like incite the healer because he just seems to drop it pretty quickly. But I don't know if that's just him like being professionally like aloof either. So next we're introduced to the general's wife, or Cross's mom. Her name is Vanessa, but part of what makes this book so cursed is how her name is spelt. It is spelled Vinessa. Vanessa. I hate that spelling so much. Like, ugh. I feel like that's not correct. She is the general's wife, like I said. She is also Cross's mom, like I said. Amazingly, she is Cross's older brother's moms too. But she is not the mother to the bastard child, as one might can imagine. Cross is talking to Ren about scars, just like generally for a few minutes. He had a scar from his brother that he had removed. And then, of course, like their 4 minutes are up and they both get horny and then they bang. And then she starts like getting all like interested in his tattoos, and he's like, I don't really want to talk about this. And he has a poem tattooed on him though, because he is our sensitive boy. It says, "Memories of eternal snow when the wind turns against you, a single second." So that's tattooed on Cross, which is cool. So Cross takes Ren to this really vibey cave, man. And the cave is vibey because it has glowing plants. He's adamant that like, oh no, this isn't a date. Why would you ever think this is a date? But like, this literally this whole scene serves absolutely no other purpose than to put the two of them in the exact same spot when Cross is reached for an emergency that he has to immediately go to. So that is the only reason. I want you to know that's the only reason they're in this cave pretty much. And so he receives this call and he's like, you know, what's up? Like, what's the 411? What's the sitch? And he like springs into action like Kim Possible. And he's like, we gotta go. We're going to my family home. We can't stop at base. I can't drop you off there. You're coming with me. And so they go up to the general's mansion. So where Cross lived as a boy. And it's described as like this really oppressive mansion, which I can kind of understand, but also like oppressive mansion seems like an oxymoron in and of itself. The way that it's described though, it's kind of like a hospital or like an asylum. And Ren, of course, after being told not to go exploring around, she goes exploring around. And what does she find? But she finds Cross with his mama. And his mama is very obviously to Ren modified and fragmented. So if you remember, her mind has literally shattered from having other minds in her mind. So she's both modified and fragmented. She's having a terrible time. And Cross is like super adamant, you know, she's not a Barrent. She's the general's wife. She can't be a Barrent. She's just schizophrenic, I swear. And we find out now, like, this is why his mom is really hidden from society. She hasn't really been seen out in public in at least like 15 years or something, which this has been a republic for 25 years. So she hasn't really been seen since, you know, early days. It's a Love Island reference. So we find out that his mom is hidden from society because she's in this state. And they're saying that she's just schizophrenic, but she really fits all of the pegs for someone who is modified and fragmented. And it turns out, to Ren's surprise, that she's not actually just like a giant bitch. So according to Ro, she thought that she was going to be just this terrible woman, but surprise, she is ill. But so the reason why Cross is there is because his mom hasn't been eating. And so Ren and Cross have like this really sweet little moment of feeding his mom some soup, some very convenient soup, I might add. This house doesn't have like permanent staff that live there. They are all escorted in when they need to be there, and they are escorted out when they don't need to be there. And so they have convenient soup from the cook that was let in at some point recently to make soup. So while she is sitting up there in this room feeding the mom some soup, she gets like that stab of pain that one gets from connecting with another mod. And she's immediately just like, bro, like your mom is a mod. Like I can tell. And then, very importantly, while we're in here and Ren is feeding his mom soup, she finds a painting in there. And this painting is the exact scene, the calm sea with the boat with the blue flag, that Wolf has been describing to her entire life whenever she's asking him what the view is like. He is describing a painting, and it is a painting in his mother's bedroom. Yeah, mods, like I said earlier, it springs up randomly. It's not like a straightforward genetics inheritance. It's like it's a toxin, and it can become active in some people. And so a mod can be born to 2 primes. And that's just how it is. So we can only assume that Cross is a mod that's been born to 2 primes. That's where I'm going with that. When Cross sees Ren like a couple days later, like literally the first time, he immediately is like asks her out in the hallway. He's like, "Hey, can you come to my room tonight?" Just like out where like literally anyone could see, you know, him, the commanding officer, and her, his subordinate, just talking. And he's like, "Hey, will you come to my room?" And like, to which I say, like, they like seem it seems like this is a bad thing, but also like literally nothing is happening. No one is like calling them out on this except for like Ivy, and she's just jealous because she's his ex. But then, of course, 2 pages after that, they bang. Ren starts asking about Cross's mom, and she knows that he's Wolf at this point, right? And so she's trying to like show her hand to him in a way that like outs herself as Daisy in that same moment. And so she approaches that by just describing this nightmare that Cross has described to her many, many times as Wolf. And then he immediately like pins her down and he's like, "Who are you?" And so she tells him, she's like, "I'm Daisy." And she like gives all this information about, I know this about you. You know this about me. I know this about you. You know this about me. Just like all of their conversations they had as kids. And she tells them like, "Daisies used to be my favorite flower until they started taking over part of the pasture for the ranch that I love so much. They started taking over the grass for the cattle, and I couldn't ranch as much as I wanted to. So I like daisies, but I don't like daisies anymore because I like ranching more. I am Ren. I ranch." He's like, "Whoa, that's crazy." And he believes her. He immediately like calms down. And then now, because these two have a telepathic link to each other, we have the almost very standard at this point couple of another set of people that can mind speak with one another. Super original, super duper original. Don't know how this person ever came up with it, whoever they may be. And then after Ren has like revealed herself as Daisy, they have like this whole little like debriefing moment with each other where it's like, "Whoa, we just found out this really important stuff." And Ren basically lies about like everything about herself, and she like lies by omission on a lot of things, but she's also like straight up lying. She says that she's not an insider, all of that kind of stuff. And she feels bad while she's doing it, but she is straight up lying to Cross as they are like having this debrief of like, "Whoa, we finally found each other. That's so cool. I've known you my whole life." Like, and she's just like actively ruining it. And then, of course, this is interrupted by action because the plot needs to move forward. So, the next thing that happens is that they get a call that there is an uprising helicopter that has crashed near like one of their weapons caches. And so what ends up happening is they fall into a trap. So the helicopter that crashed, the person that was in it, they like escaped out of it. They set up this whole scene. They arrive on that scene, and then like they split up into 2 groups. So they take 2 helicopters over there. One group is looking at like the helicopter in the grounds. The other group goes over to this armory that the helicopter has crashed near to go look for the person that has presumably gotten out of that helicopter to go raid that armory. And there's another explosion from a bomb called a sugar bomb that is a very powerful bomb made from sugars. That explodes in the armory. They don't really check it for survivors because they assume that anyone that was in there has died. And that means that 3 of their squad, the team of 3 that was on the other helicopter, that means that they have all now succumbed to the bomb. And that is really awful. But notably, they do not actually check in the armory for any survivors. They just assume that they're all gone because of how hot all the flames are from the bomb that's been detonated. Because of this whole thing happening from the uprising and Cross knowing that Ren is like working with the uprising, which I have... Like, why would you ever continue to let this person in your team if you know that they're part of the other guys? But whatever. Cross, rightfully so, thinks that Ren was in on this ambush because they get a helicopter stolen from them. One of their like brand new fancy helicopters, that is stolen. That's the trap that's been set. So they're all over at the armory because the bomb went off, and then one of their helicopters takes off. So our group has 1 helicopter to get back to their own base, and now the enemies, the uprising, has one of their helicopters. And so Cross thinks that Ren was in on this ambush. He is big mad at her. He will not talk to her. And he won't like telepathically link with her. He is like super bugging. So in response to this, Ren is like, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do something stupid. I'm gonna go get my massive burn healed that covers up my blood mark that tells everyone in the world that I am their ultimate enemy. Everyone on this base. I'm gonna go get that removed." And so she does. She goes and gets the burn removed, and then she immediately goes over to Cross's chambers, and she tells him everything about her past. She just lays it all on the line. She's like, I can incite. I incited that day that my Uncle Jim was getting unalived by the company. And she tells him, everything. I'm glossing over a lot of stuff. But of course she tells him all that, and they bang, of course, because it's Cross and Ren. And then Cross is saying, like, oh, finally I believe you. And I believe that you didn't know about the ambush. And at this point, they're both confessing their love to each other. This is approximately like 150 pages after they have first banged. But they're confessing their love to each other, like reciprocated at this point by Ren to Cross. And that's kind of where that ends up. And he's also like, wow, that was a really stupid thing for you to do to get that taken off, because now literally anyone can see your blood mark and literally everyone knows what this is about. Of course, immediately after this happens, Ren is completing another uprising assignment that she's been given. So the uprising has asked her to plant some charges for some small level explosives, not like a sugar bomb, but like a considerably smaller explosion for like a distraction for this Jubilee. This Jubilee is celebrating 25 years of the general being in charge. So this is the celebration of him ousting the modified president from power. There's going to be a huge celebration. Everyone's like super excited. And so Jade has a vision, because she is a precog. She has a vision of Ren setting up these charges that are in the storeroom. And first she like doesn't believe herself. So she just comes by herself and she like catches Ren setting up these charges. And she's like, I know what you're doing. I had a vision. I couldn't believe it at first, but I had to come check myself. And Jade is like, if you were able to decoy your mind from me and like make it this far, like that's really impressive. Like I really want to work with you. I can offer you like some level of protection. Like you'll have to be a prisoner at first, of course, but I can offer you protection. All you have to do is surrender and then work with me against the uprising. You don't understand what the uprising's doing. I don't like what the uprising's doing. And Ren is like, how dare you not like what the uprising is doing? I love what the uprising is doing. What is the uprising doing? And before she can really get that far, before she can really complete that thought, Jade is like threatening to shoot her. And so Ren decides to practice inciting a little bit, and she forces Jade to turn her weapon on herself. And then Jade is no longer a problem. So seconds after this is happening, while Jade is like in her mind and she's trying to decoy it, she's also talking to Cross. Ren's mind is like working overtime in these moments. But so Cross arrives literally seconds after Jade has turned her weapon on herself, and he immediately takes on the role of cleanup crew just for this like straight up muck duck. And he's just like going into overtime, and he's like, go get ready for the Jubilee, like go act natural, don't get away from here, I'm gonna fix this. And she's like, okay, I sorry. And he's like, it's fine, just go get ready, I'll deal with this. And so she goes to get ready, and she almost forgets that she had a date to get ready with Liddy, her friend, who we should not forget. And wouldn't you know, Liddy immediately notices that Ren has a blood mark on her like hip. And she notices this because she notices that her thigh was healed. And she's like, whoa, that's so cool. And then, yeah, like her underwear like rides up a little bit, and that's what's hiding the blood mark. And Liddy is just like, oh my God, you have a blood mark. That's freaking crazy. And Ivy walks in on this pleasant little conversation, and Ren is like desperately trying to say like, oh, no, don't worry. Cross knows, everyone knows, the general knows. Like, I'm just undercover for the company, like from the uprising. Like, you have to trust me. Like, Liddy, don't trust her. But yeah, Ivy hears this whole conversation, and then she like spirits herself away, and like now Ren is in trouble pretty much. Immediately where we're going from here, like what they're getting ready for is the Jubilee. And so really we're all kind of like on this train at this point. All of the characters are on this train of like, we are all going to the Jubilee. There's nothing we can really do about this knowledge of Ren being a modified now. It's Jubilee time. Let's freaking go. We're going to go party, and we're going to We're gonna do it, man. So Adrienne is not a drive-by character. She is one of like our big actors from the Uprising. She's been talking to Ren this whole time about, you know, Uprising stuff and doing those ops that Ren is kind of like undercover talking about. Adrienne, yeah, she's from the Uprising. She's at the Jubilee somehow, and like right in front of the like entire crowd as the general is giving this speech about how he came to power and all this stuff, she is effectively like lobotomizing him. Like she's giving him like an ice pick, like a really bad ice pick lobotomy. She's literally lobotomizing the general in front of the entire party during this celebration speech that he's giving. And at this moment, after Ren has really passed the point of no return in terms of like killing Jade and like going down all of these steps, Ren is realizing like, uh-oh, did I make a mistake? Have I made a wrong turn here? To which I say, yeah, probably, if that's what you're thinking. And when Ren is talking to Adrienne after like the fallout of all of this, because shortly after, she lobotomizes the general, both of the bombs go off. And so now the bomb that Ren sets go off, but then there's another bomb that they also planted, a sugar bomb, and that one goes off, and everyone is just freaking out. There's pandemonium everywhere. Adrienne is talking to Ren because Ren, for whatever reason, is literally trying to help her get out and like trying to help her escape. Okay. And Adrienne reveals that she has this extremely rare gift of being able to rewire brains, as she calls it. And that's like, it's like an awful gift to have. It sounds like she literally turns people into what the fragmented mods act like she turns them into like what Cross's mom is like, just like a shell of themselves, just having a terrible quality of life, honestly, not really knowing what's going on or like what they can think. And yeah, Adrienne's telling her about like this rewiring ability that she has while Ren is helping her escape after watching her do this. Like, are you kidding me? And then, yeah, the sugar bomb goes off and all hell breaks loose. So Ren has been ousted as a mod at this point. So, you know, keep in mind right before this whole thing happened, both Liddy and Ivy knew that she was a mod. And so Ren is caught. Ro comes to get her because one of them have gone to Ro, and that is awful. She is thrown in the stockade, which is effectively like their jail. And Cross is in briefings, which means that Cross cannot save her. So when he does come to like talk to her and stuff, he does like get her out of there. And she's literally like, you know, that test that she failed, wait for rescue earlier. She's like, I'm going to rescue myself. So that was a fun theme to come back, I guess. But so cue now the montage of Ren literally rescuing herself from dying because everyone else is too afraid to actually try themselves. The Uprising is saying that they can't take any helicopters there because it's too risky. And then everyone else is saying like, oh, you can't go through the Blacklands. And she's like, watch me. So yes, we find out while Cross is in briefings and while she is in the stockade that Ren has been sentenced to die by the tribunal without a trial. And Cross and Xavier make the decision to save her and to make a break for the Blacklands. So the Uprising base that they're trying to get to for protection by the Uprising, which I don't know why they want that protection anymore, but they kind of need it. But so whatever. No side is good in this one. They decide to make a break for the Blacklands and to try and get through the Blacklands over to the other side where the Uprising base is. That's what they've been directed to do if she wants help. So that's what they're going to try and do because Ren is like, I used to live there. I can do it. Just give me a chance. And so Cross escorts them up to the very edge of the Blacklands, and then he's like, I'm sorry, my dear, I have to leave you here because I am very busy and I am the general's son, and I don't know if you noticed this, but we are at war, and I cannot take you. I can't just disappear. And she's like, no! And he's like, that's not going to change my answer. And so she's like, okay, fine, whatever. Since Cross and Xavier helped get her out of there, Xavier is the one who comes with her through the Blacklands. And so cue A fun little montage. Ren and Xavier are now hiking in the dark because they are in the Blacklands. The Blacklands have no light whatsoever. No flashlight, no flame, no nothing will actually help you. The blackness in there will just swallow it right up. You can't see anything. You just gotta go by vibe through this entire forest area that, by the way, has tons of predators and traps and like quicksand that will just destroy you. So like, good luck. But cue this little montage of Ren and Xavier just hiking in the dark and bonding little by little before reaching the clearing that she used to live in when she was a child, from when she was 5 until she was 8. And while they're there, Ren finds this note to her that's from Jim, and we see her read it. She's really excited about his handwriting. She also has some like really big feelings from reading his note, and then she just scrunches it into a ball and throws it in the fire. We don't know what that note said yet. Our next scene, they've made it through the Blacklands. The friendship montage is complete. Ren and Xavier are now friends. And they cross onto the other side of the Blacklands. They connect with the Uprising there. And the Uprising says, like, okay, cool, hang tight. We'll be there in like 15. Go to that hill and we'll come pick you up. And so, remember that helicopter that got stolen? I remember when... Oh, I didn't tell you that Kane died. But so in that like really emotional like helicopter got stolen, that we got tricked. Kane died. They had a funeral for him. And Ren cried at his funeral. Don't worry, though. Kane is alive. Kane faked his death, and he literally called Tyler to Xavier's face. So Xavier and Tyler were together. He calls Tyler collateral damage. Xavier freaks out, and Kane is like, sorry, bro. And then Kane kind of pulls Ren aside, and he tells her, like, hey, cowgirl, because that's his nickname for her. That's a good nickname, honestly, cowgirl. I like that, because... as we all know, Ren loves ranch. She is ranch. So Kane tells her, he's like, hey, cowgirl, just so you know, if you like come over here, you are signing yourself up for like capital W war. Also, by the way, I know that you guys have heard about like that amazing pilot that the Uprising has. Yeah, that's actually me. I am the pilot. You can feel free to like fawn over me if you want. And she is like, yes, I understand. I am going to capital W big war. And she's like, I'm going to go. I'm going to do it. And he's like, okay. And that is where like the book leaves off. So it definitely, I would say, leaves off on a cliffhanger. We kind of like meander through a lot of different things. You know, we have this cool training montage of Ren becoming who she is as like our, you know, cool female main character, but she also is just kind of like there. I don't know. We had quite a few drive-by characters, I would say. We had at least 3 in this book, and I hope you can see why I think this is so cursed, because it's just there, isn't it? I don't know. It made me laugh so many times, and especially when I was going through this again for this video, like this made me laugh so many times so hard because it's just so ridiculous in some spots. But I do want to leave you off with this note that Jim leaves for Ren because I think it's important. I would say that the way that this book ends too is very much on like that Goosebumps to be continued screen of like, whoa, watch out, what's coming next in this story. In the letter, Jim reveals Ren. If you're reading this, I'm probably dead, of course, very dramatic. He says that her name is Stella Hess. He reveals her mother name as Maria Serrano. He reveals her father's name as Jake Hess. And they are traitors to the Uprising. And so I feel like immediately just having this letter kind of puts several layers on like the amount of protection and thought that Jim has put into protecting Ren here, because, you know, she never knew her real name. So she had no way of accidentally telling people, oh, I'm Hess, oh, I'm Stella. Like there's no way that she can do that. So I don't know. I think Jim's a pretty cool guy. I think he's probably one of the best characters in this book just because of the amount of like forethought you get from him, but also like it's really easy to sanctify, angelicize. It's really easy to like hold, deceased characters up on like a pedestal like this. So, on one hand I get it, on the other hand I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it. But it's a really interesting to see how many layers there probably are to this whole story with Ren being who she is. I am excited for the next book, but I do think that this is cursed. There just seems to be a lot of stuff that's like just picked up and put down for like no apparent reason, which like is fine, it's fun stuff. I love me a training montage, but yeah, I just thought like the sheer amounts of like horniness and from Ren and from Cross, and then just like the immediate like, oh, I love you so much kind of deal. It just, for me, it made it funny. Those things really made it enjoyable, but they also are what made it cursed. So yes, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you so much for watching this. This is going to be a long one. I have been filming for multiple hours. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. If you have made it this far, leave a bird emoji of some sort. Any sort of bird, really. Leave a bird emoji for me. I really appreciate you making it this far. If you like this video, please let me know. If you dislike this video, please let me know. And if you have any recommendations for the vampire tier list, vampires that you want to see on there, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a fantastic day or evening or afternoon, whatever it is you're doing. Remember to take care of yourself, and I don't know. Okay, bye.